I never thought my own daughter would erase me from the most important day of her life, but she did, and it nearly destroyed me. My name is Patricia Henley, and I'm 63 years old. I've spent more than 3 decades raising a child who looked at me on her wedding day like I was nothing more than an inconvenience, a stain on her perfect white ceremony. But before I tell you how a complete stranger became my saving grace in that church, and how I made sure my daughter would never forget what she did to me, let me take you back to where it all started to unravel. If you're watching this from anywhere in the world, drop a comment below and let me know where you are. And if you've ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've ever been cast aside by someone you loved more than your own life, then this story is for you. Please, hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to share is raw, it's painful, and it's real. Check the description box below for more stories like this, stories about women like us who refused to stay silent. It was a Tuesday afternoon in March when the invitation arrived. I remember because Tuesdays were my grocery days, the days I'd wander the aisles of the Kroger on Belmont Avenue, picking out the same items I'd been buying for years: chicken breasts, romaine lettuce, those little Honeycrisp apples that cost too much but tasted like childhood. I came home with my canvas bags heavy on my arms, set them on the kitchen counter, and saw the cream-colored envelope propped against the sugar canister. My heart did this stupid little leap. I knew what it was before I even touched it. The return address was printed in elegant gold script: Evelyn Rose Henley and Jonathan Patrick Aldridge. My daughter. My only child. Getting married. I wiped my hands on my jeans, still damp from where the frozen peas had condensed, and carefully opened the envelope. The card inside was beautiful, expensive. Thick cardstock with embossed lettering and a delicate floral border. I ran my fingers over the words, feeling the indentations. You are cordially invited to celebrate the marriage of Evelyn Rose Henley to Jonathan Patrick Aldridge on Saturday, the 14th of June, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. St. Catherine's Episcopal Church, followed by a reception at the Riverside Estate. I read it 3 times. Then I turned it over, looking for something more. A personal note. A handwritten line from Evelyn. Mom, I can't wait for you to be there. Mom, I need you. Mom, I love you. Nothing. Just the formal invitation. The kind you'd send to a distant cousin or a coworker you felt obligated to include. I stood there in my kitchen with the afternoon light slanting through the window above the sink, and I felt something cold settle in my chest. It wasn't anger yet. It was something quieter, something that felt like the beginning of grief. Evelyn and I hadn't been close for years. I knew that. I'd accepted it, or at least I thought I had. After her father left when she was 14, ran off with a woman from his accounting firm named Diane, a woman 10 years younger than me with no stretch marks and no exhaustion etched into her face, Evelyn had pulled away from me. She blamed me, though she never said it directly. She blamed me for not being enough to keep him. For being too tired, too plain, too ordinary. She went to college at Northwestern, studied business, and built a life in Chicago that didn't include me. She came home for Christmas, sometimes for Thanksgiving, but her visits felt like obligations. She'd sit at my kitchen table with her phone in her hand, scrolling through emails, responding to texts from friends I'd never met. When I asked about her life, she gave me surface answers. Work is fine. Yes, I'm seeing someone. No, it's not serious. Except now it was serious. Serious enough for a wedding at St. Catherine's, a church where the stained glass windows cost more than my annual salary as a part-time bookkeeper at Henderson's Hardware. I called her that evening. My hands were shaking as I dialed, which made me angry at myself. Why was I nervous to talk to my own daughter? She answered on the 4th ring. Hi, Mom. Her voice was distracted, like she was doing something else while talking to me. I got the invitation, I said, trying to sound cheerful. It's beautiful, honey. I'm so happy for you. Thanks. A pause. I could hear voices in the background, laughter. She was somewhere public. A restaurant, maybe. I was thinking, I continued, my voice too bright. Maybe we could go dress shopping together? Or if you've already picked your dress, maybe we could get lunch and talk about the wedding? I'd love to help however I can. Another pause, longer this time. Actually, Mom, everything's pretty much handled. Jonathan's mother has been helping me with most of the planning. She's really good at this stuff. Jonathan's mother. A woman I'd never met. A woman who was apparently more capable, more present, more something than I was. Oh, I said. The word came out small. Well, I could still help with something. Anything. I'm your mother, Evelyn. I know. Her tone shifted, became slightly defensive. It's just that Carolyn, Jonathan's mom, she's really connected, you know? She knows all the vendors, she's planned events before. It just made sense. It just made sense. As if I was some kind of inconvenience that didn't fit into the logic of her perfect wedding. Okay, I said quietly. But I'm still your mother. I still want to be part of this. You are part of it. You're invited, aren't you? The way she said it, so casual, so dismissive, made my throat tighten. Yes, I managed. I'll be there. Great. Listen, I have to go. We're at dinner with Jonathan's family and... Evelyn, wait. I didn't mean to interrupt, but the words came out desperate. Can we at least talk before the wedding? Just the two of us. Silence. Maybe, she said finally. I'll let you know. Things are really busy right now. She hung up before I could say goodbye. I sat on my couch for a long time that night, the invitation still in my hand, staring at the television without seeing it. I thought about calling my sister, Renee, but I didn't. Renee would just tell me what she always told me. That I let people walk all over me, that I needed to stand up for myself, that Evelyn had turned into a spoiled brat who didn't appreciate anything. Maybe she was right. But Renee didn't have children. She didn't understand that no matter how much your child hurts you, you still love them with a fierceness that defies logic. The months leading up to the wedding were torture. I tried to be involved. I sent Evelyn texts asking about flowers, about music, about the guest list. She responded with one-word answers or ignored me entirely. I offered to host a bridal shower. She told me Carolyn had already planned one in Lake Forest at her country club. I wasn't invited. It's just close friends and family, Evelyn said when I asked. Carolyn's friends, mostly. People from Jonathan's side. And what am I? I wanted to scream. What am I if not family? But I didn't scream. I just said, okay, honey. That sounds lovely. I bought my dress for the wedding in April. A simple navy sheath dress from Macy's that cost more than I wanted to spend but looked appropriate. I wanted Evelyn to be proud of me, even if she wouldn't say it. I wanted to blend in with Jonathan's family, with their country club friends and their Lake Forest mansions. I wanted to be enough. 2 weeks before the wedding, I received another envelope. This one wasn't embossed or elegant. It was a plain white envelope with a printed label. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Seating arrangements for the ceremony. I scanned the list, looking for my name. Mother of the bride should be front row, right? Next to the father of the bride, or at least nearby. That's traditional. That's how it's supposed to be. I found my name at the bottom of the second page. Patricia Henley, row 7, seat 14. Row 7. Not even close to the front. Not with the family. Alone in a row filled with, I checked the other names, distant relatives and people I'd never heard of. My hands started shaking again. This time it wasn't nervousness. It was rage. I called Evelyn immediately. What is this? I demanded when she answered. What's what? The seating chart. Why am I in row 7? She sighed, and I could picture her rolling her eyes. Mom, it's complicated. There are a lot of people to seat and... I'm your mother, Evelyn. Your mother star. Why am I being treated like some random guest? You're not being treated like, look, Dad's going to be there, okay? He's walking me down the aisle. And Diane is going to be in the front row with him. It would be weird to have you there too. The words hit me like a physical blow. My ex-husband, the man who abandoned us, who chose another woman over his family, was going to walk my daughter down the aisle. And his mistress-turned-wife was going to sit in the place of honor while I was shoved to the back. Evelyn, I whispered, my voice breaking. How could you? Mom, don't be dramatic. This is my wedding, and I get to decide how I want it. I'm sorry if your feelings are hurt, but this is what works best for everyone. Best for everyone except me. I have to go, she said, and the line went dead. I didn't cry right away. I sat on my bed, still holding the phone, and I felt something inside me crack. Not break, not yet, but crack, like ice on a frozen pond when the temperature starts to rise. If you've ever been pushed aside by someone you sacrificed everything for, you know what I'm talking about. That moment when you realize you're not valued, not respected, not even seen. If you're feeling this story, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to check the description box below for more stories like mine. The morning of the wedding, I woke up at 5 a.m. I hadn't slept well. Nightmares about showing up to the church and not being allowed in, about Evelyn telling security to remove me. Stupid, irrational fears that felt entirely possible. I did my hair and makeup with shaking hands. I wanted to look good. No, I wanted to look better than good. I wanted Evelyn to see me and feel a flicker of regret for how she treated me. I wanted Jonathan's family to wonder why such a poised, dignified woman was sitting in row 7. The church was 40 minutes away. I left early because I didn't trust myself not to break down in the car and ruin my makeup. I listened to NPR on the drive, some story about climate change that I couldn't focus on. My mind kept drifting to Evelyn as a little girl, the way she used to crawl into bed with me on Sunday mornings and demand pancakes. The way she'd hold my hand crossing the street, her tiny fingers wrapped around mine. When did I lose her? I arrived at St. Catherine's at 1:15. The parking lot was already filling up. I sat in my car for a few minutes, gathering my courage, then walked to the entrance. The church was stunning. White roses everywhere, candles flickering in glass holders, the soft sound of a string quartet playing Pachelbel's canon. People were milling around in the vestibule, greeting each other, laughing. I recognized a few faces from Evelyn's childhood, neighbors, friends of friends, but no one approached me. No one seemed to notice I was there. A young man in a black suit, one of the ushers, approached me with a polite smile. "Are you with the bride or groom?" "Bride," I said. "I'm the mother of the bride." His smile faltered for just a second, and I saw him glance down at a clipboard in his hand. "Oh," he said. "Right. Follow me, please." He led me down the aisle, past rows of people already seated, past Carolyn Aldridge in the front row wearing a champagne-colored gown that probably cost more than my car, past my ex-husband, Richard, who looked older but still handsome in his tuxedo, his arm around Diane. We kept walking. Row 7. The usher gestured to a seat near the middle. "Here you are." I sat down, my purse in my lap, and I felt the weight of it settle over me. The humiliation. The invisibility. I was completely, utterly alone. The seat cushion beneath me was too hard, or maybe I was just too aware of every sensation, every sound, every pitying glance from the people around me. I folded my hands in my lap, pressing my nails into my palms to keep from crying. I would not cry. Not here. Not where Evelyn might see me and feel vindicated in her decision to push me aside. The church continued to fill. I watched people enter, watched the ushers guide them to their seats. Carolyn Aldridge held court in the front row like a queen, leaning over to whisper to the woman beside her, both of them laughing. Richard sat straight-backed and proud, already playing the role of father of the bride as if he'd earned it. As if he hadn't missed years of Evelyn's life because he was too busy building a new family with Diane. Diane, who was now adjusting the collar of Richard's jacket with an intimacy that made my stomach turn. I looked away. Around me, the guests in row 7 were strangers. An elderly couple who didn't speak to each other, a middle-aged woman scrolling through her phone, a teenage boy who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. None of them acknowledged me. I was just another body filling a seat, another name on a list. I thought about leaving. Just standing up, walking back down that aisle, getting in my car and driving home. Let Evelyn have her perfect wedding without the inconvenience of her mother. Let her marry Jonathan surrounded by his family, his mother's friends, his world. But I couldn't do it. Because despite everything, despite the hurt, the rejection, the humiliation, she was still my daughter. I'd carried her for 9 months, felt her kick against my ribs, held her when she was born and thought I'd never seen anything more beautiful in my entire life. I'd rocked her through colic, walked her to her first day of kindergarten, stayed up with her through middle school heartbreaks and high school anxieties. I'd given her everything. And she'd given me row 7. The string quartet shifted into a new piece, something I didn't recognize. The lights dimmed slightly, and a hush fell over the church. The ceremony was about to begin. I watched as the groomsmen filed in from the side door, Jonathan among them. He was handsome, I'd give him that. Tall, with dark hair and a confident smile. The kind of man who looked like he belonged in a church like this, who looked like he came from money and success and certainty. Then the bridesmaids began their processional. 6 young women in dusty rose gowns, each one more polished and perfect than the last. I didn't recognize any of them. Evelyn's friends from college, probably. Her new life. The music swelled into Wagner's bridal chorus. Everyone stood. And there she was. My daughter. Evelyn looked ethereal in her gown, a cascade of white silk and lace that caught the light from the stained glass windows. Her dark hair was swept up in an elegant twist, a cathedral veil flowing behind her. She was radiant, glowing, every inch the perfect bride. And she was holding Richard's arm. I watched them walk down the aisle together, father and daughter, as if this were natural, as if this were right. Richard's face was filled with pride, his chest puffed out, his smile broad. You'd never know he'd abandoned her. You'd never know he'd chosen another woman over his family, over his daughter. Evelyn's eyes scanned the crowd as she walked. I saw her smile at Carolyn, at Jonathan's family, at the bridesmaids. She was so happy, so perfectly composed. Her gaze passed over me without stopping. She didn't even see me. I felt something break inside my chest then, something that had been cracking for months but finally shattered. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, a silent collapse that no one else could hear. But I felt it. The ceremony proceeded exactly as you'd expect. The priest welcomed everyone, made a joke about marriage that earned polite laughter. Jonathan and Evelyn exchanged their vows, their voices strong and clear. They looked at each other like they were the only 2 people in the world. I tried to listen to the words. I tried to focus on the beauty of the moment, to find some joy in watching my daughter get married. But all I could think about was row 7. All I could think about was how I didn't matter. When the priest announced them as husband and wife, when Jonathan kissed Evelyn and the church erupted in applause, I clapped too. I smiled. I played my part as the invisible mother, the woman who existed on paper but not in reality. They walked back down the aisle together, beaming, and again Evelyn's eyes swept past me without recognition. I stood there as the rest of the guests filed out, row by row. The front rows first, of course. Carolyn and Richard and Diane and all the important people. Then the second row, the third, the fourth. By the time they reached row 7, I felt numb. I followed the crowd to the vestibule, where people were congratulating each other, talking about how beautiful the ceremony was, how perfect the bride looked. I hovered near the edge, not sure what to do with myself. Someone bumped into me, a woman in a purple dress who didn't apologize. I was invisible. The receiving line was in the courtyard outside the church. I could see it through the doors, Evelyn and Jonathan standing together, flanked by their wedding party, greeting guests. Carolyn was there too, of course, standing just behind Evelyn like a second mother. I made my way outside, joining the line. It moved slowly. People ahead of me hugged Evelyn, kissed her cheeks, shook Jonathan's hand. I watched, my heart pounding. What would I say to her? What could I say that wouldn't sound bitter or hurt or pathetic? When I finally reached her, I opened my mouth, but before I could speak, Carolyn stepped forward. "Patricia," she said, her voice bright and fake. "So lovely to see you. Wasn't the ceremony just gorgeous?" She was blocking me, literally standing between me and my daughter. "Yes," I managed. "It was beautiful." "Evelyn, darling," Carolyn said, turning to my daughter, "we need to get you to the photo location. The photographer is waiting." Evelyn nodded, her smile never faltering. She glanced at me briefly, finally acknowledging my existence, and said, "Thanks for coming, Mom." Thanks for coming. Like I was a coworker, a neighbor, a stranger. And then she was gone, swept away by Carolyn and the wedding party, leaving me standing there with my hand half raised in an aborted gesture of, what? A hug. A touch. A connection. I lowered my hand. Around me, people were getting into their cars, heading to the reception at Riverside Estate. I stood in the courtyard for a long moment, the June sun hot on my shoulders, and I considered not going. I considered driving home, changing into my pajamas, and pretending this day had never happened. But then I thought about the money I'd spent on the dress, on the gift I'd bought them, a ridiculously expensive set of crystal champagne flutes because Evelyn had registered for them. I thought about how it would look if the mother of the bride didn't show up to the reception. And I thought about how I'd spent my entire life making things easier for other people, smoothing over conflicts, swallowing my own needs. I was tired. But I got in my car and drove to Riverside Estate anyway. The reception venue was even more stunning than the church. A sprawling mansion with manicured gardens, a tent set up on the back lawn overlooking a pond. White chairs, white linens, white roses. Everything perfect, everything expensive. I found my name on the seating chart near the entrance to the tent. Table 18. In the back. Far from the head table where Evelyn and Jonathan sat with their wedding party. Far from Richard and Diane and Carolyn, who were at table 2. I was at table 18 with more strangers. An older man who introduced himself as Jonathan's great-uncle. A couple who I think were second cousins of someone. A woman who spent the entire cocktail hour talking about her dog. I smiled. I nodded. I made small talk. Inside, I was screaming. Dinner was served, salmon or beef. I chose salmon and barely tasted it. The speeches began. The best man told jokes about Jonathan's college days. The maid of honor cried talking about how Evelyn was her soul sister, how they'd been through everything together. Richard stood to give a toast. When Evelyn was born, he said, his voice thick with emotion, I knew my life had changed forever. Watching her grow into the remarkable woman she is today has been the greatest privilege of my life. People applauded. Some dabbed at their eyes. I gripped my wine glass so hard I thought it might shatter. He hadn't watched her grow. I had. I was the one who'd sat through dance recitals and soccer games and parent-teacher conferences. I was the one who'd held her when she didn't make the varsity team, when her first boyfriend broke her heart, when she got rejected from her top college choice. I had done that. Not him. But no one asked me to give a toast. No one asked me to share my memories, my pride, my love. I was invisible. If you're still with me, thank you. I know this is hard to listen to, but I need you to understand what happened next, why I did what I did. Please, take a second to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Check the description for more stories that will make you feel less alone. As the evening wore on, I watched Evelyn dance with Jonathan for their first dance, watched her dance with Richard for the father-daughter dance. I watched Carolyn pose for photos with the bride and groom, watched her laugh and cry and act like she was the one who'd raised Evelyn. I watched from table 18, hidden in the back, and I felt myself disappearing. At one point, I went to the restroom just to escape. I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection. My makeup was still perfect, my dress still appropriate, my hair still in place. But my eyes looked hollow. When I returned to the tent, the cake was being cut. Evelyn and Jonathan fed each other small bites, laughing as frosting smudged on Jonathan's nose. The photographer captured every moment. I wasn't in any of the photos. Around 9 o'clock, I decided I'd had enough. I'd fulfilled my obligation. I'd attended my daughter's wedding, sat through the ceremony and reception, smiled and clapped and pretended I was fine. I could leave now. I gathered my purse and slipped out of the tent, walking across the lawn toward the parking lot. The night air was cooler, a relief after the stuffiness of the reception. I could hear music and laughter behind me, the party continuing without me. I was halfway to my car when I heard footsteps behind me. Excuse me. I turned. A woman was approaching, probably in her early 40s, wearing a simple black dress. I didn't recognize her. Yes, I said. She hesitated, her expression uncertain. I'm sorry to bother you, but, are you okay? The question surprised me. No one had asked me that all day. I'm fine, I said automatically. She studied my face. You're the bride's mother, aren't you? I saw you at the ceremony. In row 7. I felt my throat tighten. Yes. She shook her head slowly. I'm sorry. That was. I noticed. It seemed wrong. Tears pricked at my eyes. Thank you for saying that. I'm Melanie, she said. I work with Jonathan. I don't know the family well, but I couldn't help but notice how you were treated today. I didn't know what to say. This stranger had seen me when my own daughter hadn't. It's okay, I said, though it wasn't. Melanie reached out and squeezed my arm gently. It's not okay. But I hope you know that what happened today says nothing about you and everything about them. I nodded, not trusting my voice. She smiled sadly and walked back toward the tent. I stood there for a moment longer, then got in my car and drove home. The house was dark and empty when I arrived. I kicked off my heels in the entryway, hung my dress in the closet, and sat on my bed in my slip and nylons. And finally, I cried. I cried for the daughter I'd lost, for the relationship that would never be what I'd dreamed, for all the years I'd spent hoping things would change. I cried until I had no tears left. And then, in the silence of my empty house, I made a decision. I was done being invisible. The Sunday after the wedding, I woke up with swollen eyes and a headache that felt like someone had driven a spike through my skull. I lay in bed for a long time, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the previous day. Every slight, every dismissal, every second I'd spent sitting alone in that church while my daughter pretended I didn't exist. I thought about calling Evelyn. Maybe she'd realize what she'd done. Maybe she'd call me first to apologize, to explain, to say she'd been so overwhelmed with wedding planning that she hadn't thought about how her decisions would affect me. My phone sat on the nightstand, silent. She didn't call. By Monday, I'd returned to my routine. Work at Henderson's Hardware, where I kept the books for old Mr. Henderson and his son, Dale. They were kind men, the sort who asked how I was doing and actually waited for an answer. But even they could tell something was wrong. Rough weekend. Dale asked when I came in Monday morning. My daughter got married, I said, forcing a smile. Well, congratulations. He grinned. That must have been wonderful. Yes, I said. It was. The lie tasted bitter. I threw myself into work that week, grateful for the distraction. Numbers didn't betray you. Spreadsheets didn't make you feel inadequate. I could lose myself in columns of figures and pretend my heart wasn't shattered. But at night, alone in my house, the anger crept in. It started small. Little flickers of resentment when I'd think about Carolyn standing between me and Evelyn in the receiving line. Sparks of rage when I remembered Richard giving that toast, acting like he'd been a present father. But those flickers and sparks grew into something bigger, something that consumed me as I lay awake at 3 a.m, staring into the darkness. I'd given Evelyn everything. After Richard left, I'd worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. I'd sacrificed my social life, my dating life, my entire existence to make sure she had what she needed. I'd paid for her SAT prep courses, her college application fees, her first car. I'd been there for every milestone, every heartbreak, every triumph. And she'd repaid me by shoving me into row 7 and pretending I didn't matter. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. On Thursday, I finally called my sister, Renee. She lived in Portland, Oregon, and we talked maybe once a month, usually when one of us needed to vent. Tell me everything, she said when I told her about the wedding. I did. I told her about the seating chart, about being ignored in the receiving line, about sitting at table 18 while Carolyn played mother of the bride. I told her about Richard's toast and Evelyn's blank stare when she'd looked past me in the church. When I finished, there was a long silence. Patricia, Renee said finally, her voice tight with anger, you need to stop letting these people walk all over you. I know, I whispered. No, I don't think you do. You've spent your entire life making excuses for Evelyn, for Richard, for everyone who's hurt you. And what has it gotten you? You were treated like garbage at your own daughter's wedding. She's my daughter, I said, my voice breaking. I can't just. You can't just what? Set boundaries? Demand respect? Patricia, you deserve better than this. I closed my eyes. I don't know what to do. Start by telling Evelyn exactly how she made you feel. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't make it easy for her. Make her face what she did. We talked for another hour. Renee told me stories about her own life, about standing up to her ex-husband, about learning to put herself first. By the time we hung up, I felt something shift inside me. Renee was right. I'd spent too long being the peacemaker, the one who absorbed everyone else's cruelty and smiled through it. I was done. Friday evening, I drafted an email to Evelyn. I wrote and rewrote it a dozen times, trying to find the right words, the right tone. I didn't want to sound bitter, but I needed her to understand what she'd done. Dearest Evelyn, I want to start by saying congratulations again on your marriage. You looked beautiful, and I hope you and Jonathan have a wonderful life together. I also need to tell you how deeply hurt I was by my treatment at your wedding. Being seated in row 7, away from family, made me feel invisible and unimportant. Watching your father walk you down the aisle while I sat in the back was devastating. I have been there for you your entire life, through every challenge and every joy, and it felt like none of that mattered. I'm not writing this to ruin your happiness or to make you feel guilty. I'm writing because I love you, and I believe we need to have an honest conversation about our relationship. I miss you, Evelyn. I miss my daughter. And I hope we can find a way forward. Love, Mom. I read it over one more time, then hit send before I could talk myself out of it. She responded 3 days later. Mom. I'm sorry you felt hurt, but you're making this about you when it was my wedding. I had a lot of people to accommodate, and I did the best I could. If you can't be happy for me without turning everything into drama, then maybe we need some space. Evelyn. I read her message 5 times, each time feeling like I'd been slapped. Making this about you. Drama. Space. She didn't understand. She didn't care. And worse, she was turning my pain into a character flaw, something unreasonable and selfish. I didn't respond. The weeks that followed were some of the darkest of my life. I went through the motions, work, grocery shopping, paying bills, but I felt like I was watching myself from a distance, disconnected from my own body. I stopped calling Evelyn. I stopped texting her. If she wanted space, fine. I'd give her space. But the anger didn't go away. If anything, it grew stronger. I started having fantasies about revenge. Nothing violent, nothing illegal, but scenarios where Evelyn would realize what she'd done and come crawling back, apologizing, begging for my forgiveness. Scenarios where Richard and Carolyn and Diane would all see how they'd mistreated me and feel ashamed. But fantasies weren't enough. I needed something real. I started small. I unfriended Evelyn on Facebook, which felt petty and juvenile but also satisfying. I blocked Carolyn, Richard, and Diane too. I didn't want to see their photos of Evelyn's wedding, didn't want to watch them all play happy family online. Then I took her name off my emergency contact forms. Changed my will to leave everything to charity instead of to her. Small acts of reclaiming my life from someone who clearly didn't want to be part of it. But it still wasn't enough. One night in late July, I was scrolling through Facebook, my newly curated feed, free of Evelyn and her in-laws, when I saw a post from Melanie, the woman who'd stopped me in the parking lot after the wedding. Sometimes the people who claim to love you are the ones who hurt you the most. Protect your peace. I clicked on her profile. She had photos of her own family, her husband and 2 kids, all smiling and happy. She posted about her work, something in marketing, and about her hobbies, mostly hiking and photography. On impulse, I sent her a friend request with a message. Hi Melanie, I'm not sure if you remember me, but you spoke to me at my daughter's wedding in June. Your kindness that night meant more to me than you know. I hope you're doing well. She accepted the request the next day and responded. Of course I remember you. I've thought about you often since then. I hope you're doing okay. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. We started messaging back and forth. She was easy to talk to, warm and genuine in a way that felt rare. I told her more about my relationship with Evelyn, about the years of distance and the wedding that had finally broken me. She shared her own stories about family drama, about her mother-in-law who'd tried to take over her life. The thing is, she wrote one evening, people like that only have power over you if you let them. At some point, you have to decide that your peace matters more than their approval. Her words stayed with me. In August, something happened that changed everything. I was at the grocery store, different day, same Kroger on Belmont Avenue, when I ran into Janet Kowalski, a woman I'd known years ago when Evelyn was in elementary school. Our daughters had been in the same class, had been friends for a while before Janet's family moved to a different neighborhood. Patricia, she said, her face lighting up. My goodness, it's been forever. We hugged, and she immediately started asking about Evelyn. I told her about the wedding, keeping my voice neutral, leaving out the painful parts. That's wonderful, Janet said. You know, my daughter Ashley got married last year, and it was such a beautiful experience. She insisted I help with everything. I think I drove her crazy at times, but we grew so much closer through the whole process. Something in my chest twisted. That sounds lovely, I managed. Janet's expression softened. Is everything okay between you and Evelyn? The concern in her voice, the genuine care from someone I hadn't seen in years, broke something open in me. Standing there in the produce section, I told her everything. The words poured out, row 7, the receiving line, the email, Evelyn's cold response. When I finished, tears were streaming down my face. Janet handed me a tissue from her purse. "Oh, Patricia," she said quietly. "I'm so sorry." We moved to the little Starbucks inside the store and talked for over an hour. Janet didn't offer platitudes or tell me Evelyn would come around eventually. Instead, she shared her own story about going to therapy after her divorce, about learning to set boundaries with people who took her for granted. "The therapist told me something I'll never forget," Janet said. She said, "You teach people how to treat you. If you keep accepting crumbs, that's all they'll ever give you. If you've ever had someone validate your pain, someone who doesn't tell you to just get over it or that family is family, you know how powerful that moment can be. Subscribe if this is resonating with you, and please, check the description box below for more stories about finding your strength." After talking with Janet, something crystallized in my mind. I couldn't control how Evelyn saw me or treated me, but I could control how I responded. I could control what I accepted. I made an appointment with a therapist named Dr. Raymond Chen. Actually, no, that's not right. His name was Dr. Harold Brennan. I'd never been to therapy before. It felt like admitting defeat somehow, like I was the problem. But I was desperate for clarity, for tools to handle this pain that was eating me alive. Dr. Brennan was in his 60s, with kind eyes and a calm demeanor that immediately put me at ease. In our first session, I told him everything, just as I'd told Janet. He listened without interrupting, occasionally jotting notes on his pad. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. "Patricia," he said finally, "what you're describing is a pattern of emotional neglect. Your daughter has consistently communicated through her actions that your feelings, your presence, and your role in her life don't matter to her. And you've consistently accepted that treatment because you're afraid of losing her completely." Hearing it stated so plainly made me flinch. "But I already have lost her," I whispered. "Haven't I?" "That's something only you can answer," he said gently. "But I will ask you this. What would it look like to prioritize your own well-being? What would it look like to stop waiting for Evelyn to change and instead change how you engage with this relationship?" I didn't have an answer that day. But over the following weeks, Dr. Brennan helped me see patterns I'd been blind to. How I'd always made myself small to make others comfortable. How I'd apologized for existing, for having needs, for expecting basic respect. "You're not asking for anything unreasonable," he told me during one session. "You're asking to be treated like a human being, like a mother. That's not drama. That's dignity." Dignity. I started to rebuild myself around that word. In September, Evelyn finally reached out. A text message, brief and impersonal. "Hey mom. Just checking in. How are you?" I stared at the message for a long time. The old Patricia would have responded immediately, would have gushed about how good it was to hear from her, would have pretended everything was fine. But I wasn't that Patricia anymore. I responded 6 hours later. "I'm managing. Thank you for asking. She didn't text back for 3 days. "We should get together sometime. "I'd like that. I wrote. "Let me know when works for you. She never did. October came and went. Then November. The holidays were approaching, and I dreaded them. Thanksgiving, Christmas. These were the times when the absence of family felt most acute. Renee called me the week before Thanksgiving. "Come to Portland," she said. "Spend the holidays with me. Get away from all the Evelyn drama and just breathe." I considered it. But something stopped me. "I can't run away," I told her. "I need to face this." "Then face it," Renee said. "But on your terms, not theirs." Evelyn texted me 2 days before Thanksgiving. "Jonathan's family is hosting this year. You're welcome to join if you'd like. You're welcome to join if you'd like. Not please come not we'd love to have you but you're welcome to join if you'd like . Like I was an afterthought, an optional guest. I wrote back. Thank you for the invitation, but I have other plans. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I didn't have other plans. But I made some. I volunteered at a homeless shelter in downtown Milwaukee that Thanksgiving, serving turkey and mashed potatoes to people who had nowhere else to go. It was humbling and exhausting and somehow more fulfilling than any holiday meal I'd had in years. Evelyn didn't text me back. She didn't call. Christmas was approaching, and I knew another invitation would come, another half-hearted offer to include me in Jonathan's family celebrations. But before that happened, something else occurred that would change the trajectory of everything. It was early December, a Friday evening. I was at home, wrapping Christmas presents for my coworkers and for Renee, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello. Hi, is this Patricia Henley? A woman's voice, young, uncertain. Yes, this is she. My name is Brooke. Brooke Sullivan. This is going to sound strange, but I think I'm your daughter. The world tilted. What? I whispered. I was adopted, she said, speaking quickly now, like she needed to get the words out before she lost her nerve. I recently got my adoption records unsealed, and your name is listed as my birth mother. I was born on March 15, 1983, in Madison, Wisconsin. March 15, 1983. I sat down heavily on my couch, the phone pressed to my ear. I don't understand, I said, though part of me did. Part of me was already remembering something I'd buried so deep I'd almost convinced myself it never happened. I know this is a shock, Brooke said. And I completely understand if you don't want to talk to me. But I've been searching for you for 2 years, and I needed to try. My mind was reeling, tumbling back through time to 1982, to a version of myself I barely recognized. I was 20 years old, a junior in college, dating a boy named Thomas who'd promised me the world and then disappeared when I told him I was pregnant. I'd hidden the pregnancy from everyone except my mother. She'd been furious, ashamed, convinced that having a baby out of wedlock would ruin my life. She'd arranged everything, the private adoption, the story we'd tell people about me taking a semester abroad. I'd given birth to a baby girl on March 15, 1983, held her for 10 minutes, and then watched a nurse carry her away. I'd buried that pain so deep that by the time I met Richard 2 years later, by the time Evelyn was born in 1987, I'd almost convinced myself that first daughter had never existed. Are you still there? Brooke asked softly. Yes, I breathed. I'm here. I don't want to disrupt your life, she said. I wanted to know where I came from, who I came from. We talked for 2 hours that night. Brooke told me about her life. She'd been raised in Minnesota by parents who'd loved her, who'd told her she was adopted from the beginning. She was 42 now, married with 3 kids of her own. She worked as a nurse. She'd always wondered about her birth mother, had always felt a piece of herself was missing. I'm not looking for anything from you, she assured me. I just wanted to meet you, if you're open to it. I was open to it. More than open. I was stunned, overwhelmed, and somewhere beneath the shock, something like hope was blooming. We agreed to meet the following weekend at a coffee shop in Madison, halfway between her home and mine. After we hung up, I sat in the silence of my living room, my mind spinning. I had another daughter. A daughter I'd given away, a daughter who wanted to know me. And suddenly, row 7 at Evelyn's wedding didn't seem like the end of my story. It seemed like the beginning of something else entirely. The week leading up to my meeting with Brooke felt like living in a dream. I moved through my daily routine, work, errands, the mundane tasks that filled my life. But my mind was elsewhere, spinning through memories I'd locked away for 42 years. I told no one. Not Renee, not Dr. Brennan, certainly not Evelyn. This felt too fragile, too precious to share. I was afraid that speaking it aloud would somehow make it disappear, that I'd wake up and realize it had all been a desperate fantasy. But Saturday came, cold and grey, and I drove to Madison with my heart hammering in my chest. The coffee shop Brooke had suggested was called The Daily Grind, a cozy place near the university with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. I arrived 15 minutes early, ordered a tea I wouldn't drink, and sat at a table near the window where I could watch the door. At exactly 2 o'clock, a woman walked in. I knew her immediately, though I couldn't have told you why. She didn't look like me, her hair was lighter, her build different, but there was something in the way she carried herself, something in her eyes when they scanned the room and landed on me. She smiled, tentative and nervous, and walked over. Patricia. Brooke. I stood, unsure what to do. Should I hug her? Shake her hand? I felt paralyzed by the enormity of this moment. She solved the problem by stepping forward and embracing me gently. She smelled like vanilla and something citrusy, and I felt tears prick at my eyes. We sat down, both of us clutching our coffee cups like lifelines. "I'm so nervous," she said with a small laugh. "Me too," I admitted. For a few minutes, we just looked at each other, taking in details. She had Thomas's nose, I realized. His cheekbones. But her smile, that was mine. "You're beautiful," I said softly. She blushed. "Thank you. So are you." We started carefully, trading basic information. She told me more about her adoptive parents, Linda and Robert Sullivan, who'd been unable to have children of their own. They'd given her a good life, she said, filled with love and stability. They'd passed away within a year of each other, about 5 years ago, which was part of what had prompted her search. "I felt like I needed to know all of me," she explained. "Not to replace them, nothing could ever do that. But to understand the other half of my story." I told her about my life. About the pregnancy I'd hidden, about the pressure from my mother to give her up for adoption. About meeting Richard, about Evelyn, about the divorce and the years of single motherhood. I didn't tell her about row 7 yet. That felt too raw, too specific. But as we talked, I felt something loosening in my chest, some knot of grief I hadn't known I was carrying. "Do you ever regret it?" Brooke asked quietly, "Giving me up?" I met her eyes. "Every single day for 42 years. She blinked back tears. "But I also know," I continued, "that I couldn't have given you the life the Sullivans did. I was 20 years old, alone, barely able to take care of myself. I wanted you to have everything, even if that meant you had it without me." "Did you ever try to find me?" she asked. I shook my head. The adoption was closed. And I was always told, that it would be selfish to disrupt your life. That the best thing I could do for you was to stay away. "That wasn't your choice to make," she said, her voice firm but kind. "I wish I'd known you sooner." We talked for 3 hours that day. She showed me photos of her family, her husband Derek, her 3 kids, Emma, Noah, and Lily. They were beautiful, bright-eyed children, and I felt an ache knowing I was their grandmother, that I'd missed their entire lives. "Maybe," Brooke said hesitantly, "you could meet them sometime? If you want to, that is. No pressure." "I'd love that," I said, my voice thick with emotion. Before we parted, she hugged me again, tighter this time. "Thank you for meeting me," she whispered. "Thank you for not turning me away." "Thank you for finding me," I said. Driving home, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Joy. Pure, uncomplicated joy. I had another daughter. I had grandchildren. I had a second chance at a family who wanted me. The contrast with Evelyn was stark and painful, but I tried not to focus on that. Instead, I let myself imagine holidays with Brooke's family, birthdays, ordinary Sunday dinners. All the things I'd been denied with Evelyn. Over the following weeks, Brooke and I texted frequently. She sent me photos, told me stories about her kids, asked me questions about my life. It felt natural, easy in a way my relationship with Evelyn had never been. 3 weeks after our first meeting, she invited me to her home in Duluth for Christmas. "I know it's a long drive," she said, "but I'd really love for you to meet Derek and the kids. And they're so excited to meet their grandmother." Their grandmother. I'd been a grandmother to Evelyn and Jonathan's future children in theory, but they hadn't even discussed having kids. And I knew, with a certainty that made my chest ache, that even if they did, I'd be row 7 grandma. The one they saw out of obligation, not love. "I'll be there," I told Brooke. But before Christmas, I had to deal with Evelyn. She'd texted me an invitation to Christmas Eve at Carolyn's house. The message was brief, almost identical to the Thanksgiving one. * Christmas Eve at the Aldridges. 6 p.m. Let me know if you can make it. *. I stared at the message for a long time. The old Patricia would have gone, would have sat in whatever corner they assigned her, would have smiled and pretended everything was fine. But I wasn't that Patricia anymore. I called Dr. Brennan before I responded. "What do you want to do?" he asked. "I want to tell her no," I said. "I want to tell her I'm done being treated like I don't matter." "Then tell her that." "But what if she never speaks to me again?" "Patricia," he said gently, "is she really speaking to you now?" He was right. Our relationship was already broken. The only question was whether I'd keep pretending it wasn't. I wrote and deleted a dozen responses before finally settling on. Thank you for the invitation, but I won't be able to attend. I'll be spending Christmas with family in Minnesota. I hope you have a wonderful holiday. I hit send before I could second guess myself. She responded an hour later. Minnesota? What family? I didn't answer. Let her wonder. Let her feel a fraction of the confusion and hurt I'd felt for years. She tried calling me twice that evening. I didn't answer. Finally, she left a voicemail. Mom, I don't understand what's going on. You're acting really strange. If you're upset about something, you need to tell me instead of playing these games. Call me back. Playing games. As if I were the problem. As if I were the one who'd been cruel and dismissive. I didn't call back. Christmas in Duluth was everything I'd hoped for and more. Brooke's home was warm and welcoming, decorated with handmade ornaments and twinkling lights. Derek was kind and funny, immediately putting me at ease. And the kids, oh, the kids. Emma was 12, whip-smart and curious, with a million questions about my life. Noah was 9, obsessed with dinosaurs and eager to show me his entire collection of fossils. Lily was 6, shy at first but warming up quickly, eventually climbing into my lap while we watched the Polar Express star. I felt like I was floating. Like I'd stumbled into an alternate universe where I was wanted, where I was valued, where my presence was a gift rather than a burden. On Christmas morning, they'd put presents under the tree for me. Small things, a scented candle from Emma, a drawing from Lily, a book about Wisconsin history from Noah, but they meant everything. We're so glad you're here, Brooke said, hugging me in the kitchen while we prepared Christmas dinner. The kids have been talking about Grandma Patricia non-stop. Grandma Patricia. I'd never heard anything more beautiful. That evening, after the kids were in bed, Brooke and I sat by the fireplace with glasses of wine. Derek had gone to his office to answer some work emails, leaving us alone. Can I ask you something? Brooke said. Of course. You mentioned you have another daughter. Evelyn, right? I tensed. Yes. Are you close? I took a long sip of wine, trying to decide how much to share. But Brooke had been nothing but open with me, nothing but accepting. She deserved honesty. So I told her. Everything. The wedding, row 7, the receiving line, the emails, the text messages, the years of being pushed aside. When I finished, Brooke was quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry, she said finally. That must be incredibly painful. It is. Do you think? She hesitated. Do you think part of why you're pulling away from her is because you found me? Like, maybe it's easier to let go now that you have another daughter. Her question caught me off guard. Was that true? Was I giving up on Evelyn because Brooke had given me an escape? I don't know, I admitted. Maybe. But I also think I've been holding on to something that wasn't there for a long time. Evelyn doesn't want me in her life. Not really. She just wants the idea of a mother, someone who shows up when summoned and disappears when dismissed. That's not fair to you, Brooke said firmly. No, I agreed. It's not. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, the fire crackling, the house peaceful. For what it's worth, Brooke said eventually, I'm really glad I found you. And I'm glad you're in my life now. Tears pricked at my eyes. I'm glad too. The week between Christmas and New Year's, I stayed in Duluth. Brooke had insisted, and I had no reason to rush home. We fell into an easy rhythm, mornings helping with the kids, afternoons exploring the snowy city, evenings playing board games or watching movies. It felt like family. On New Year's Eve, my phone rang. Evelyn. I almost didn't answer, but Brooke was in the room and saw my expression. You should talk to her, she said gently. Whatever happens, at least you'll know where you stand. I stepped outside onto the porch, the cold Minnesota air biting at my skin. Hello. Mom. Evelyn's voice was tight. Where are you? I'm in Duluth. Duluth? Why? I'm visiting family. What family? We don't have family in Minnesota. I took a breath. I'm visiting my daughter. Silence. You're, what? I have another daughter, Evelyn. Her name is Brooke. I gave her up for adoption before you were born, and she found me a few weeks ago. More silence, longer this time. Are you serious right now? Evelyn's voice was rising. You have another daughter and you didn't tell me. You didn't ask, I said quietly. I didn't, Mom, that's insane. How could you keep something like that from me? The hypocrisy of her outrage would have been funny if it weren't so painful. Evelyn, I said, my voice steady, you've kept me at arm's length for years. You humiliated me at your wedding. You've made it abundantly clear that I'm not a priority in your life. So no, I didn't feel the need to share this with you. This is unbelievable, she hissed. You're punishing me because you're upset about the wedding. I'm not punishing you. I'm living my life. There's a difference. You're being selfish, she said, and I could hear tears in her voice now. You're my mother. You're supposed to. I'm supposed to what? I interrupted. Be available whenever you decide you need me. Sit quietly in row 7. Accept whatever scraps of affection you throw my way. I can't believe you're still hung up on that seating chart, she snapped. And there it was. The complete dismissal of my pain. Goodbye, Evelyn, I said. Mom, wait. I hung up. Inside, Brooke was waiting with a concerned expression. Are you okay? I nodded slowly. Yeah, I think I am. And I was. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt like I was standing on solid ground. If you've ever had to choose yourself over someone who refuses to see your worth, you understand what I was feeling. Please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and check the description box below for more stories about finding your strength when family lets you down. The new year arrived with a bitter cold snap and a clarity I hadn't felt in years. I returned to Milwaukee in early January with Brooke's promise to visit in the spring and a renewed sense of purpose. I'd spent too long waiting for Evelyn to love me the way I deserved. I was done waiting. But Evelyn wasn't done with me. The calls and texts started within days of my return. At first, they were angry, accusations that I was abandoning her, that I was choosing a stranger over my real daughter. Then they turned manipulative, reminding me of all the times she'd needed me growing up, painting herself as the victim of my newfound boundaries. I didn't respond to most of them. Dr. Brennan had taught me about emotional manipulation, about how people who are used to controlling you will escalate when they feel that control slipping. But then Richard called. I hadn't spoken to my ex-husband in over a decade, not since the divorce was finalized and the last of the legal paperwork was signed. Hearing his voice on my voicemail sent a jolt of anger through me. Patricia, it's Richard. Evelyn is very upset, and frankly, so am I. I don't know what's gotten into you, but you need to stop this nonsense and act like an adult. She's your daughter, for God's sake. Call me back so we can figure this out. Act like an adult. The man who'd abandoned his family for a younger woman was telling me to act like an adult. I deleted the message. But he called again. And again. Eventually, I blocked his number. Evelyn tried a different tactic. In late January, she showed up at Henderson's Hardware. I was in the back office, reconciling December's receipts, when Dale knocked on the door. Patricia? Your daughter's here. My stomach dropped. Tell her I'm busy. Dale looked uncomfortable. She says it's urgent. I closed my eyes, took a breath, and followed him to the front of the store. Evelyn stood near the paint display, looking out of place in her expensive coat and designer handbag. She'd lost weight since the wedding, I noticed. Her face looked thinner, sharper. Mom, she said when she saw me. Evelyn. This isn't a good time. I'm at work. I drove 2 hours to see you, she said. Can we please talk? I glanced at Dale, who was pretending to organize wrenches while clearly eavesdropping. Fine. We can talk in my office. She followed me to the small room in the back. I didn't offer her a seat, didn't offer her anything. I crossed my arms and waited. I don't understand what's happening, she said, her voice trembling. Why are you doing this? Doing what? Shutting me out. Choosing some random woman over your own daughter. Brooke isn't a random woman, I said calmly. She's my daughter too. And unlike you, she actually wants me in her life. Evelyn flinched. That's not fair. Isn't it? Evelyn, you seated me in row 7 at your wedding. You let your father and his wife take the places of honor while I sat in the back like a stranger. You've ignored me, dismissed me, and made me feel worthless for years. So tell me, what exactly isn't fair? I apologized for that, she said, her voice rising. No, you didn't. You told me I was making your wedding about me. You told me I was being dramatic. That's not an apology. She was crying now, mascara starting to smudge under her eyes. I didn't know it hurt you that much. How could you not know? I asked, and I heard my own voice break. How could you not know that being pushed aside by your own child would hurt? I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry, Mom. But even as she said it, I could see the calculation in her eyes. This wasn't genuine remorse. This was panic at losing control, at losing the mother who was always supposed to be there no matter how badly she was treated. I accept your apology, I said. But that doesn't change anything. What do you mean? I mean that I'm not going to keep setting myself on fire to keep you warm. I'm not going to keep accepting crumbs and calling it love. If you want a relationship with me, it needs to be a real one. Built on mutual respect. Not just you calling when you need something. I do respect you, she said weakly. Do you? I asked. Because from where I'm standing, you respect Carolyn more than you respect me. You respect your father more than you respect me. You respect everyone more than you respect me. She didn't have an answer for that. I think you should go, I said quietly. Mom, please. Go, Evelyn. She stood there for a moment longer, tears streaming down her face, before turning and walking out. I sat down at my desk and put my head in my hands. Part of me wanted to run after her, to apologize, to take it all back. But I didn't. Because for the first time in my life, I was choosing myself. February brought a cold snap that kept most of Milwaukee indoors, but I barely noticed. I was focused on building my relationship with Brooke, on therapy sessions with Dr. Brennan, on reclaiming the life I'd put on hold for so long. Brooke and I talked on the phone several times a week. She sent me videos of the kids, photos of their daily lives. I sent her recipes and stories about her biological father, Thomas, answering the questions she'd wondered about her whole life. Do you ever think about trying to find him? She asked during one call. No, I said honestly. That chapter is closed. He made his choice 42 years ago. Fair enough, she said. I just wondered. In March, she called with news that made my heart sore. I was thinking, she said, what if you came up for Emma's birthday in April? We're having a small party, just family, and the kids would love to have you there. I'd be honored, I said. Great. And actually. She hesitated. Derek and I were talking, and we thought maybe you'd like to stay for a while? Like, a longer visit? We have a guest room, and the kids are already calling it Grandma's room. I felt tears prick at my eyes. Really? Really? We love having you here. Your family. Family. Not a burden. Not an afterthought. Family. I booked 2 weeks off from Henderson's Hardware and started planning my trip to Duluth. Around that same time, I started noticing something strange. I was getting friend requests on Facebook from people I didn't know, women in their 30s and 40s, most of them from the Chicago area. I ignored the first few, assuming they were bots or spam. But then I got a message from one of them. Hi Patricia. You don't know me, but I'm a friend of Evelyn's. I just wanted to say that I think the way she's been talking about you is really unfair. I hope you're doing okay. I stared at the message, confused. What has she been saying? I wrote back. The response came quickly. She's been posting a lot about family drama, about how her mother abandoned her to spend time with some long-lost daughter. She's painting herself as the victim. A lot of us think she's being manipulative, but I wanted you to know that some people see through it. My hands were shaking. I went to Evelyn's Facebook page. I'd blocked her, but I could still see her public posts, and scrolled through her recent updates. There it was. Post after post about how hurt she was, how her mother had suddenly decided another daughter was more important, how family should forgive each other's mistakes. The comments were split, some people sympathizing with her, others calling her out. One comment in particular caught my eye. Maybe your mom had a good reason for distancing herself. Just saying. Evelyn had responded. My mother is going through something. I'm trying to be understanding, but it's really hard when she won't even talk to me. I felt rage build in my chest. She was weaponizing social media, trying to turn people against me, trying to rewrite history so she was the wronged party. I screenshot everything and sent it to Dr. Brennan. "This is classic manipulation," he said during our next session. "She's trying to control the narrative, to make you look like the bad guy so she doesn't have to examine her own behavior." "What do I do?" I asked. "Nothing," he said. "Don't engage. Let her exhaust herself. The people who matter will see through it." He was right, but it still hurt. It hurt to see my daughter lie so publicly, to see her twist our story into something unrecognizable. But I followed his advice. I didn't respond, didn't make my own posts. I focused on my life, on my plans to visit Brooke, on the therapy homework Dr. Brennan assigned me about setting boundaries. And then, in early April, everything came to a head. I was at home, packing for my trip to Duluth, when there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Carolyn Aldridge standing on my porch. "We need to talk," she said. For a moment, I was too stunned to respond. Then I found my voice. "No, we don't." I started to close the door, but she put her hand on it. "Please," she said. "Just give me 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I let her in. She stood in my living room, looking around at my modest furniture and worn carpet with an expression I couldn't quite read. "This is about Evelyn," she said. "Of course it is. She's devastated, Patricia. She's barely eating, barely sleeping. Jonathan is worried about her." "And you think that's my fault?" I asked. "I think you're being unnecessarily cruel," Carolyn said. "She made some mistakes with the wedding, I'll grant you that. But she's apologized. She's trying. And you're punishing her by flaunting this new daughter in her face." The audacity of this woman, standing in my home, telling me how to relate to my own child, was breathtaking. "Get out," I said quietly. "Excuse me." "Get out of my house." "Patricia, I'm trying to help." "You're not trying to help," I interrupted, my voice rising. "You're trying to manipulate me into falling in line so your precious daughter-in-law stops bothering you with her feelings. But here's the thing, Carolyn, I don't care. I don't care if Evelyn is upset. I don't care if she's not eating or sleeping. Because for months, for *years*, I wasn't eating or sleeping because of how she treated me, and none of you cared then." Carolyn's face flushed. "That's not fair. Evelyn loves you." "Does she?" I asked. "Because love doesn't look like row 7. Love doesn't look like being erased from your own daughter's wedding. Love doesn't look like being treated like an inconvenience." She was stressed. "Stop making excuses for her," I shouted, and even I was surprised by the force of my own voice. "Stop enabling her. Stop acting like I'm the problem because I finally had the courage to say enough is enough." Carolyn stared at me, her mouth slightly open. "You need to leave," I said, quieter now but no less firm. "And you need to tell Evelyn that sending people to my home to guilt-trip me isn't going to work. If she wants to talk to me, she can do it herself, as an adult. But I'm done being bullied by her and by you." Carolyn left without another word. I locked the door behind her and leaned against it, my heart racing. My hands were shaking, but not from fear or doubt. From adrenaline. From the rush of finally standing up for myself. I called Brooke. "You won't believe what just happened," I said, and told her everything. She was quiet for a moment after I finished. "I'm proud of you," she said. Those 4 words meant more than she could possibly know. 2 days later, I drove to Duluth with my car packed full of presents for Emma's birthday and my heart full of something that felt like hope. The visit was magical. Emma's birthday party was small and sweet, just family and a few of her school friends. I helped Brooke bake the cake, a 3-layer chocolate creation that Emma had specifically requested. When she blew out her candles, she looked at me and said, "I'm so glad Grandma Patricia is here." I cried. Over the next 2 weeks, I settled into their rhythm. I helped with homework, cooked dinners, read bedtime stories. I took Lily to her dance class and Noah to his baseball practice. I sat with Brooke over coffee in the mornings, talking about everything and nothing. This was what family was supposed to feel like. Not obligation. Not guilt. Just belonging. One evening, after the kids were in bed, Derek joined Brooke and me in the living room. "Patricia," he said, "Brooke and I have been talking, and we wanted to run something by you." I looked between them, curious. "What if you moved here?" Brooke said in a rush. "To Duluth. You could find work, Or not, we'd help you either way. We have plenty of space, and the kids would love having you closer. You could be as involved as you want to be, no pressure, but we'd really love to have you nearby. I was speechless. You don't have to answer now, Derek added quickly. Just think about it. But I already knew my answer. Yes, I said. Yes, I'd love that. Brooke's face lit up. Really? Really? We spent the rest of that evening making plans. I'd need to give notice at Henderson's Hardware, sell my house in Milwaukee, figure out the logistics. But it all felt possible. More than possible. It felt right. I returned to Milwaukee at the end of April with a new purpose. I put my house on the market, gave my notice at work, Mr. Henderson and Dale were sad but understanding, and started sorting through 40 years of accumulated possessions. It was during this process, while cleaning out my attic, that I found the box. It was labeled Evelyn, baby years in my own handwriting, shoved in a corner under some old Christmas decorations. I almost left it there, but something made me pull it down and open it. Inside were all the things I'd saved from Evelyn's childhood. Her baby blanket, her first pair of shoes, photos from every stage of her life. Report cards with teacher comments like bright and enthusiastic. Mother's Day cards she'd made in elementary school, construction paper and crayon declarations of love. Asterisk to the best mom in the world. Asterisk. Asterisk I love you more than ice cream. Asterisk. Asterisk you're my favorite person. Asterisk. I sat on the attic floor, surrounded by these relics of a daughter who had once adored me, and I let myself grieve. Not just for what I'd lost, but for what I'd never really had, or at least, what hadn't lasted. I thought about calling her. About reaching out one more time, about trying to bridge this chasm between us. But then I remembered Carolyn standing in my living room. I remembered the Facebook posts. I remembered row 7. Some things couldn't be fixed. Some relationships were too broken, too toxic, too painful to salvage. I closed the box and put it aside to donate. In May, my house sold faster than expected. A young couple with a baby, excited about the neighborhood and the big backyard. I felt a pang watching them walk through with their real estate agent, imagining their future in these rooms where I'd raised Evelyn alone. But it was time to move forward. The week before my move, Renee flew in from Portland to help me pack. She took one look at me and pulled me into a tight hug. You look different, she said. Different how? Lighter. Like you finally put down something heavy you'd been carrying. She was right. We spent 3 days packing boxes, ordering takeout, and talking late into the night. I told her everything about Brooke, about the decision to move, about the confrontation with Carolyn. I'm so proud of you, Renee said. You finally chose yourself. On my last night in Milwaukee, I stood in my empty house, listening to the echoes. So many memories here. Evelyn's first steps in the living room. Her high school graduation party in the backyard. Late nights waiting up for her to come home safe. My phone rang. Evelyn. I stared at her name on the screen, my finger hovering over the decline button. Then, for reasons I still don't fully understand, I answered. Hello. Mom. Her voice was thick with tears. Please don't move. Please don't leave me. Evelyn. I know I messed up, she continued, words tumbling out. I know I hurt you. But you're my mother. You can't just replace me with her. I'm not replacing you, I said quietly. I'm choosing a life where I'm valued. There's a difference. I value you. No, you don't. Not really. You value having a mother when it's convenient. But that's not how family works. So you're just going to abandon me? Her voice turned bitter. Just like you abandoned her. The words hit like a slap. What did you just say? You gave Brooke away, Evelyn said. You abandoned her because she was inconvenient. And now you're doing the same thing to me. The cruelty of it took my breath away. I gave Brooke up because I was 20 years old and alone and thought I was doing what was best for her, I said, my voice shaking. But I raised you. I sacrificed everything for you. I loved you with everything I had. And you threw it back in my face. Those are not the same thing, and you know it. Silence. I'm moving to Duluth next week, I continued. I'm going to be close to people who actually want me in their lives. You're welcome to visit if you ever decide you want a real relationship with me, but I'm done begging for your love. I'm done accepting scraps. I deserve better than that. Mom. Goodbye, Evelyn. I hung up. This time, she didn't call back. I left Milwaukee on a Tuesday morning in late May. Renee had flown back to Portland, but Brooke and Derek had driven down with a U-Haul to help with the move. The kids had stayed with Derek's sister, but they'd made me a banner that said "Welcome home, Grandma," in glitter and marker. As we pulled away from my house for the last time, I didn't look back. I was too busy looking forward. If you've ever had to leave behind people or places that hurt you to find your peace, you know how bittersweet that moment is. Please share this video with someone who needs to hear this story. And don't forget to check the description box below for more stories about choosing yourself and finding your real family. Moving to Duluth was like being reborn. Brooke and Derek helped me find a small apartment 3 blocks from their house, close enough to be involved but far enough to maintain my independence. It had big windows that overlooked a park where I could watch kids play, reminding me of when Evelyn was young but without the accompanying heartache. I settled into a routine. Mornings at the local coffee shop with a book. Afternoons with Brooke and the kids when they got home from school. Evenings exploring my new city or having dinner with my newfound family. I'd even started volunteering at the public library, helping with their literacy program. For the first time in years, I felt like myself. Not someone's discarded mother. Not someone's disappointment. Just Patricia. Just me. But the universe, it seemed, wasn't done with me yet. It was mid-August, nearly a year after Evelyn's wedding, when I received a Facebook message from someone I'd never heard of. Hi Patricia. My name is Amanda Reeves. I don't know if you remember me, but I was at your daughter's wedding last June. I'm reaching out because I saw Evelyn's recent Facebook post announcing a vow renewal ceremony, and I thought you should know about it. My stomach dropped. A vow renewal ceremony? They'd been married barely over a year. I clicked on Evelyn's profile. I'd unblocked her months ago but never looked, and there it was. A post from 3 days earlier. Jonathan and I are so excited to announce that we'll be renewing our vows on September 14th, exactly 15 months after our wedding day. This time, we're doing things our way, intimate, meaningful, and surrounded only by the people who truly love and support us. Details to come. Red heart hash. The comments were full of congratulations and heart emojis. I scrolled through them, my chest tightening, until I found one that made my blood run cold. Someone had written, "So beautiful. Will your mom be there this time?" Evelyn's response, "My real family will be there. That's what matters." My real family. I closed Facebook and sat in the silence of my apartment, trying to process what I'd just read. A vow renewal after 15 months was unusual on its own. But the pointed emphasis on doing things their way and real family felt like a deliberate message. A message aimed at me. I called Brooke. "Did you see Evelyn's Facebook post?" I asked. "No, what post?" I told her everything. When I finished, she was quiet. "That's strange," she finally said. "Do you think she's doing this to hurt you?" "I don't know what to think anymore." "Do you want to go?" Brooke asked gently. The question surprised me. "What?" "To this vow renewal. Do you want to go?" "I wasn't invited." "That doesn't answer my question." I thought about it. Did I want to go? Part of me was curious, desperate to know what Evelyn was planning, whether this was really about her marriage or about sending me a message. But a bigger part of me was just tired. Tired of caring, tired of hoping, tired of being hurt. "No," I said finally. "I don't want to go." "Then don't," Brooke said simply. "You don't owe her anything." She was right. But knowing something intellectually and feeling it emotionally were two different things. Over the next few weeks, I tried to forget about the vow renewal. I focused on my life in Duluth, on Emma's soccer games and Noah's school project about the solar system and Lily's obsession with learning to braid hair. But my mind kept drifting back to September 14th. What would the ceremony be like? Would Richard walk her down an aisle again? Would Carolyn stand in the place of honor? Would there be an empty seat somewhere, a silent acknowledgement of my absence? Or would I simply not exist at all? A week before the ceremony, Amanda Reeves messaged me again. I don't want to overstep, but I thought you should know that people are talking about this vow renewal. A lot of Evelyn's friends think it's strange and performative. Some of us even suspect it's specifically designed to make a statement about you not being there. I just wanted you to know that not everyone is buying what she's selling. I thanked her for reaching out but didn't say much else. What could I say? That my daughter was so obsessed with punishing me that she'd created an entire fake ceremony? That this whole thing was her expensive, elaborate middle finger disguised as a celebration of love? The night before the ceremony, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, my mind spinning through scenarios. What if I showed up uninvited? What if I sent her a message? What if I just appeared, forcing her to acknowledge me? But every scenario ended with more pain, more humiliation. At 2 a.m, I got up and made myself tea. I sat at my kitchen table and wrote a letter I'd never send. Dear Evelyn tomorrow you're renewing your vows to Jonathan, and I won't be there. Not because I wasn't invited, I know I wasn't, but because I've finally learned that I can't make someone love me. I can't force you to see my worth, to value my sacrifice, to recognize that I've loved you fiercely and unconditionally since the day you were born. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not even hurt, really. I'm just done. I hope your ceremony is everything you want it to be. I hope you and Jonathan are happy. I hope someday you understand what you've lost. But I'm not waiting around for that day to come. Mom. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. September 14th arrived with perfect fall weather. I'd made plans to take Lily to the zoo, anything to keep my mind occupied. We spent the morning looking at penguins and tigers, eating overpriced ice cream, laughing at the monkeys. But at 2 o'clock, the exact time the ceremony would be starting, I excused myself to the restroom and checked Facebook. Evelyn had posted a photo 30 minutes earlier. She was in a different dress, white but simpler than her wedding gown, standing with Jonathan in what looked like a garden. The caption read, about to renew our promises to each other surrounded by our real family. So grateful for everyone who has shown up for us. Red heart #. That word again. Real. I put my phone away and returned to Lily, who was talking excitedly about the giraffes. Grandma, can we see them again? She asked. Of course, sweetheart. And I meant it. This was real. This child, this moment, this life I'd built. Everything else was just noise. But 3 hours later, something happened that changed everything. I was back at my apartment, making dinner, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello. Is this Patricia Henley? A woman's voice, young, nervous. Yes. Hi, my name is Taylor. Taylor Brennan. This is really weird, but I'm calling from Evelyn's vow renewal ceremony. My heart stopped. What? I'm here at the ceremony, she continued, speaking quickly, and something happened. I think you need to know about it. I don't understand. Just listen, okay? So the ceremony was lovely, whatever. But during the reception, Evelyn gave this speech. About family and loyalty and who shows up when it matters. She said something about how her mother chose a different family over her, how some people only care about themselves. I closed my eyes. Of course she did. But then, Taylor continued, this woman stood up. I don't know who she is. Nobody seems to know her. She just stood up in the middle of the reception and said, actually, I'd like to say something. What did she say? She said, I was at your wedding last year. I sat in row 7 with a woman who was crying silently through the entire ceremony. That woman was your mother. She sat alone while your father and his new wife were honored. She sat alone while your mother-in-law played the role that should have been hers. And she never complained. She never made a scene. She just loved you anyway. My breath caught. Then this woman, the stranger, she said, your mother has another daughter now, someone who actually values her. And from what I've seen online and from what I witnessed at your wedding, she made the right choice. You don't get to treat someone like garbage and then play the victim when they finally leave. I was crying now, silently, tears streaming down my face. Evelyn lost it, Taylor said. She tried to have security remove the woman, but a bunch of people started speaking up. Defending the woman. Defending you. Saying they'd noticed how you were treated too. It turned into this whole thing. The woman left, but the damage was done. People are talking about it, whispering. The reception basically fell apart after that. Who was she? I whispered. The woman who spoke up. Nobody knows. She apparently told someone she was Jonathan's colleague, but Jonathan says he doesn't know her. She just appeared, said what she needed to say, and left. After I hung up with Taylor, I sat in my apartment in stunned silence. Someone, a complete stranger, had stood up for me, had seen me when Evelyn never did, had valued me enough to risk making a scene at someone else's event. I thought about that woman, whoever she was, standing in that reception hall full of Evelyn's carefully curated guests and speaking truth. I thought about how much courage that must have taken. And I thought about how, for the first time in my life, someone had fought for me. The next morning, Amanda Reeves sent me another message. Asterisk, I heard about what happened at the ceremony. The whole thing is blowing up in their friend group. A lot of people are taking a hard look at how Evelyn treated you. Just thought you'd want to know. Asterisk. She included a screenshot of a conversation from someone's Instagram story. It was a photo of the reception hall, abandoned half-full plates on tables, with text overlaid. Asterisk, when your vow renewal becomes a referendum on how you treat your mother. Asterisk, eyes. I should have felt vindicated. I should have felt satisfied that Evelyn was finally experiencing consequences for her actions. But mostly I just felt sad. Sad for the daughter I'd raised, who'd become so consumed with appearances and status that she'd lost sight of what mattered. Sad for the relationship we'd never have. Sad for all the years I'd spent hoping things would change. I didn't hear from Evelyn for 3 days. Then, on September 17th, she called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Mom, we need to talk about what happened. Someone sabotaged my ceremony. Some crazy woman stood up and humiliated me in front of everyone. And I know you probably think I deserved it, but just call me back. Please. I didn't call back. She texted. Asterisk, I know you're behind this. I don't know how, but I know. Asterisk. I responded. Asterisk, I don't know who that woman was. But I'm glad she said what I never could. Asterisk. Asterisk, you're unbelievable. Asterisk. She wrote back. Asterisk, no. Asterisk. I replied. Asterisk, I'm done. There's a difference. Asterisk. And I was. Finally. Truly done. That evening, Brooke came over with a bottle of wine. I heard what happened, she said. The whole internet heard what happened, apparently. I didn't plan it, I said. I know. But can I just say, whoever that woman was, she's my hero. We laughed then, really laughed, and it felt good. It felt like freedom. Do you wish you'd been there? Brooke asked. To see Evelyn's face. I thought about it. No. I'm glad I was at the zoo with Lily. I'm glad I was here, living my life, instead of caught up in her drama. Good, Brooke said. Because that's exactly where you should be. The following weeks brought more fallout. Evelyn's friend group apparently split down the middle. Those who thought the mystery woman had been out of line, and those who thought she'd been speaking necessary truth. Jonathan's family was reportedly furious about the spectacle. And Evelyn blamed me for all of it. But I was in Duluth, 300 miles away, living my life. Playing with my grandchildren. Having coffee with Brooke. Planning Thanksgiving dinner at my apartment. I was building something real. Something that didn't require me to disappear. One afternoon in early October, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, asterisk from the woman at the vow renewal. Asterisk. My hands shook as I opened it. Asterisk, dear Patricia. Asterisk. Asterisk, you don't know me, and I don't expect you to respond to this. But I wanted you to know that I was the woman who spoke up at your daughter's ceremony. Asterisk. Asterisk, my name is Rebecca Hart. I wasn't at your daughter's original wedding, but I've been following the situation online through mutual friends. When I saw the announcement about the vow renewal and read Evelyn's pointed comments about real family, I knew exactly what she was doing. She was publicly humiliating you again. Asterisk. Asterisk, I crashed the ceremony. I pretended to be Jonathan's colleague, wore a nice dress, and sat in the back. I listened to her speech, heard her paint herself as the victim, and I couldn't stay quiet. Asterisk. Asterisk, I don't know you personally, but I know what it's like to be erased by people who should love you. My own mother hasn't spoken to me in 5 years because I'm gay. I know what it feels like to be told you're not real family anymore. Asterisk. Asterisk, so I stood up. For you. For me. For everyone who's ever been cast aside. Asterisk. Asterisk I hope you're living a beautiful life now, Patricia. You deserve it. Asterisk. Asterisk Rebecca asterisk. I read the email 3 times, tears blurring my vision. Then I hit reply. Asterisk Dear Rebecca asterisk. Asterisk Thank you. Thank you for seeing me when my own daughter couldn't. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for reminding me that sometimes strangers understand us better than the people who share our blood. Asterisk. Asterisk I am living a beautiful life now. Because of people like you. Asterisk. Asterisk with gratitude, Patricia asterisk. And it was true. Every word of it. October in Duluth was stunning. The leaves turned brilliant shades of orange and red, and the air had that crisp quality that made everything feel sharper, more real. I'd been in my new city for nearly 4 months, and it finally felt like home. Emma, Noah, and Lily had fully embraced calling me Grandma Patricia. Derek treated me like I'd always been part of the family. And Brooke, my daughter, my miracle, made me feel valued in ways I'd never experienced with Evelyn. But Evelyn wasn't done with me yet. It started with a certified letter that arrived on a Monday morning in mid-October. I signed for it, confused, and opened it at my kitchen table. Inside was a formal letter from an attorney's office in Chicago. Asterisk Dear Ms. Henley asterisk. Asterisk This office represents Evelyn Henley Aldridge in regard to matters concerning familial relationships and potential litigation. Ms. Aldridge wishes to inform you that she is prepared to pursue legal action regarding defamation of character and emotional distress resulting from your orchestrated disruption of her vow renewal ceremony on September 14, 2025. Asterisk Furthermore, Ms. Aldridge requests that you cease all contact with her social circle and stop spreading false narratives about her character through third parties. Should you fail to comply, we are prepared to pursue a restraining order. Asterisk Please contact this office within 10 business days to discuss resolution of these matters. Asterisk. I read it twice, then 3 times, unable to believe what I was seeing. She was threatening to sue me. For something I didn't do. For a disruption caused by a stranger who'd acted of her own volition. My first instinct was panic. Then anger. Then something close to laughter, because it was so absurd, so perfectly Evelyn, to twist reality until she was the victim and everyone else was the villain. I called Dr. Brennan. I'd continued our sessions via video chat since moving to Duluth. This is an intimidation tactic, he said immediately after I read him the letter. She has no case. You didn't orchestrate anything. But she's trying to scare you into backing down, into reaching out, into giving her control again. What should I do? Forward the letter to your own attorney. Document everything. And absolutely do not engage with her or her lawyer directly. I didn't have an attorney. I'd never needed one. But Brooke's husband Derek connected me with a colleague of his, a woman named Catherine Voss who specialized in family law. Catherine read the letter and actually laughed. This is ridiculous, she said. They have no grounds for defamation because you didn't make any public statements. They have no grounds for emotional distress because you didn't attend the event. And a restraining order? Based on what? This is pure intimidation. So what do I do? I'll respond on your behalf, Catherine said. I'll make it clear that these threats are baseless and that if they continue to harass you, we'll file a countersuit for malicious prosecution. That should shut them up. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. Catherine's response was sent within 3 days. I didn't see the exact wording, but she assured me it was firm and left no room for misinterpretation. I waited for the fallout. It came 2 weeks later, but not in the form I expected. Richard called me. I hadn't blocked him on my new phone number. I hadn't thought I needed to, and his name lighting up my screen made my stomach drop. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won out. Hello. Patricia. His voice was tight, controlled. We need to talk. I don't think we do. Evelyn is falling apart, he said, ignoring my response. This whole situation with you has destroyed her. She can't sleep, she can't eat. Jonathan is talking about marriage counseling because of the stress. That's unfortunate, I said, and I meant it. I didn't want Evelyn to suffer. But I also couldn't keep sacrificing myself to ease her pain. You need to fix this, Richard said. I didn't break it. You're her mother. Exactly, I said, feeling my anger rise. I'm her mother. I raised her alone after you left. I was there for every milestone, every crisis, every moment that mattered. And she repaid me by treating me like garbage at her wedding. By pushing me out of her life. By publicly humiliating me. So no, Richard, I don't need to fix this. She does. You're being selfish, he said, and I could hear Evelyn in his words. The same accusation, the same deflection. I'm being healthy, I corrected. There's a difference. She's your daughter, he pressed. You can't just. I can't just what? Set boundaries? Expect respect? Stop accepting cruelty? Yes, Richard, I can. And I am. You're destroying this family, he said, his voice rising. What family? I asked. The one where you walked out to be with another woman? The one where Evelyn seated me in row 7 at her wedding? That family was destroyed a long time ago. I'm just finally admitting it. He was quiet for a moment. Diane thinks you're having some kind of breakdown, he said finally. She thinks you need help. The audacity of Diane, the woman who'd broken up my marriage, having opinions about my mental health was almost funny. Goodbye, Richard. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From adrenaline. From the rush of finally, completely, saying what needed to be said. I called Renee immediately. I'm so proud of you, she said when I told her about the conversation. That's the Patricia I remember from before Richard, before Evelyn wore you down. Welcome back. November arrived with the first snow. Thanksgiving was coming, and for the first time in my life, I was actually looking forward to it. Brooke and I planned everything together. We'd host at her house. My apartment was too small, and Derek's sister and her family would join us. 13 people total, including the kids. A full house, Brooke said happily. Just how Thanksgiving should be. The day before Thanksgiving, I was at the grocery store picking up last-minute items when my phone buzzed. A Facebook message from someone named Jennifer Carver. Hi Patricia. I'm a friend of Evelyn's, or I was, until recently. I've been watching this whole situation unfold, and I wanted to reach out. Can we talk? I hesitated, then responded. About what? About Evelyn. About what really happened at her wedding and why so many of us are starting to see her differently. We agreed to talk on the phone that evening. Jennifer, it turned out, had been one of Evelyn's bridesmaids. She'd known Evelyn since college and had always considered her a close friend. But the wedding changed things, Jennifer said. I watched how she treated you that day. I saw you sitting alone in row 7, saw you get shut out of photos, saw you eating by yourself at the reception. And I saw how Evelyn didn't even seem to notice. Why didn't you say anything? I did, Jennifer said. After the wedding, I asked her about it. I said it seemed like her mom had been pushed aside. She got defensive, told me I didn't understand, that you were difficult, that she'd had her reasons. I see. But then the vow renewal happened. And Rebecca, the woman who stood up, she said things that I'd been thinking but was too afraid to say. After that ceremony fell apart, a bunch of us started talking. Comparing notes. Realizing that Evelyn had been painting you as this difficult, dramatic person for years, but none of us had ever actually met you. We'd only heard her version. And now? I asked. Now a lot of us are pulling back from her. Realizing that maybe she's not the victim she's always claimed to be. I just wanted you to know that. And to apologize for not speaking up sooner. I was quiet for a moment. Thank you, I said finally. That means more than you know. After we hung up, I sat with the weight of what she'd said. Evelyn had spent years constructing a narrative, painting herself as the wrong daughter with the difficult mother. And people had believed her because they hadn't known any better. But now the truth was leaking out. Now people were seeing cracks in her story. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. Thanksgiving Day was perfect. The house smelled like turkey and stuffing and all the familiar scents of the holiday. The kids ran around with their cousins, laughing and playing. Derek and his brother-in-law argued good-naturedly about football while setting the table. And Brooke and I worked side by side in the kitchen, moving in an easy rhythm, talking and laughing and just being together. Before dinner, Derek asked everyone to share what they were thankful for. The kids went first. Lily was thankful for her new princess dress, Noah for his fossil collection, Emma for making the honor roll. When it was my turn, I looked around the table at these people who'd welcomed me into their lives. I'm thankful for second chances, I said, my voice thick with emotion. For finding my way back to family. For being reminded that sometimes the people we think we've lost are actually finding us. Brooke reached over and squeezed my hand. That evening, after everyone had gone home and the dishes were washed, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Evelyn. 1 voicemail. Mom, it's Thanksgiving. You're supposed to be with family. I don't understand how you can just abandon me like this. Call me back. I deleted the message. She'd never asked me to come to Thanksgiving. She'd never invited me. She just assumed I'd be sitting at home alone, waiting for her to decide I was worthy of her time. But those days were over. I texted her back. *I spent Thanksgiving with my family. I hope you had a nice day too. She didn't respond. December brought preparations for Christmas. Brooke and I took the kids to see lights, to visit Santa, to bake dozens of cookies. I bought presents with actual thought behind them, a telescope for Noah, a journal and fancy pens for Emma, a karaoke machine for Lily. I was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy. And then, on December 15th, everything exploded. I was at the library, helping a second grader sound out words, when my phone started buzzing incessantly. Text after text, notification after notification. During my break, I checked. Rebecca Hart, the woman who'd stood up at the vow renewal, had written a blog post. It had gone viral. The title was, "Why I Crashed a Stranger's Vow Renewal and Why I Don't Regret It." In it, she detailed everything. Evelyn's treatment of me at her wedding. The online posts painting me as the villain. The vow renewal that was clearly designed to publicly shame me. And her decision to speak up. The post ended with, "I've never met Patricia Henley, but I know what it's like to be erased by people who should love you. And I know that sometimes, someone needs to stand up and say, this is wrong. This is cruel. This has to stop. If you're reading this and you've ever been the person in row 7, the one pushed aside, dismissed, told your feelings don't matter, I see you. You're not crazy. You're not dramatic. You deserve better. And Patricia, if you're reading this, I hope you're living your best life. I hope you're surrounded by people who value you. I hope you never sit in row 7 again. The post had been shared thousands of times. The comments section was flooded, some people praising Rebecca's courage, others condemning her for causing a scene. But overwhelmingly, the response was supportive. And people were finding Evelyn's social media. Her Facebook page, her Instagram, were being flooded with comments. Some supportive, but many critical. This is your mother she's talking about. How could you treat someone like this? Row 7? Seriously? You should be ashamed. I felt sick. This was spinning out of control. What had been a private family drama was now public spectacle, and I knew Evelyn would blame me. Within an hour, she proved me right. Are you happy now? She texted. You've turned me into an internet villain. My life is being destroyed because of you and that psycho woman. I didn't write that post. I responded. And I didn't tell Rebecca to write it. But I also won't apologize for what she said, because it was true. Everyone thinks I'm a monster. Then maybe it's time to examine why. I wrote back. She called immediately. I didn't answer. She called again. And again. Finally, I answered. What, Evelyn? You have to make this stop. She was crying, her voice shrill with panic. You have to tell people it's not true, that Rebecca is lying, that you. I'm not going to lie for you, I interrupted. Mom, please. My life is falling apart. Jonathan's parents are furious. His mother says I've embarrassed the family. People at my office are talking about me. My friends are turning on me. Then apologize, I said quietly. Publicly. Genuinely. Admit that you treated me poorly and that you're sorry. I am not going to humiliate myself like that. Then there's nothing I can do for you. You're supposed to protect me, she screamed. You're my mother. And you're my daughter, I said, my voice breaking. But you've never treated me like a mother. You've treated me like an inconvenience. Like someone who exists only to serve you and disappear when you don't need me. That's not true. Yes, it is. And deep down, You know it. You've known it for years. But you've never cared enough to change it. She was sobbing now, incoherent. Evelyn, I said gently, I love you. I have always loved you. But I can't save you from the consequences of your own choices. You have to do that yourself. I hate you, she whispered. I know, I said. Goodbye, Evelyn. I hung up and turned off my phone. That night, I sat with Brooke in her living room, both of us curled up on the couch with mugs of tea. How are you feeling? She asked. I don't know, I admitted. Sad. Relieved. Guilty. Free. All of it at once. That's normal, she said. You're grieving. I keep thinking about when she was little, I said. About how much she loved me then. About how she'd run to me when she fell down, how she'd crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. And I wonder where that little girl went. When did I lose her? You didn't lose her, Brooke said softly. She lost herself. And that's not your fault. I wanted to believe her. Part of me did believe her. But the mother in me, the part that had loved Evelyn from the moment I first felt her kick, that part still ached. Over the following days, Rebecca's post continued to spread. News outlets picked it up. BuzzFeed wrote an article. Twitter threads dissected the situation. Evelyn made her social media private and, according to Jennifer Carver, had basically gone into hiding. Part of me felt sorry for her. But a bigger part remembered row 7. Remembered being invisible at my own daughter's wedding. Remembered years of being taken for granted. She'd brought this on herself. On December 20th, I received an email from an address I didn't recognize at first. Then I saw the name, Carolyn Aldridge. Patricia, I am writing to you on behalf of Evelyn, who is too distraught to communicate directly. This situation has spiraled completely out of control, and I believe you bear significant responsibility for what has happened. Whatever grievances you have with Evelyn regarding the wedding, they should have been handled privately within the family. Instead, you have allowed, perhaps even encouraged, strangers to publicly attack my daughter-in-law. This is unconscionable. Jonathan and Evelyn's marriage is under tremendous strain because of this scandal. His family's reputation has been damaged. Evelyn's professional life has been affected. I am asking you, as one mother to another, to please issue a public statement defending Evelyn and clarifying that this entire situation has been blown out of proportion. You owe her that much. Sincerely. Carolyn Aldridge. I read the email 3 times, feeling my blood pressure rise with each pass. I called Catherine Voss, my attorney. Can you believe this? I asked after reading her the email. Unfortunately, yes, Catherine said dryly. People like this always think they can manipulate others into doing what they want. Should I respond? No, I said. I will. I drafted my response carefully, editing it several times before sending. Carolyn, I will not be issuing any public statement defending Evelyn's treatment of me, because there is no defense for it. I did not write Rebecca Hart's blog post, nor did I ask her to. But I will not discredit her account, because every word she wrote was true. You stood between Evelyn and me in the receiving line at her wedding. You sat in the front row while I sat in row 7. You played mother of the bride while I watched from the sidelines. You know exactly what happened, and you were complicit in it. If Evelyn's marriage is struggling, perhaps it's because it was built on a foundation of superficiality and cruelty. If her reputation is damaged, perhaps it's because her actions were damaging. These are consequences, Carolyn. Not attacks. I suggest you encourage Evelyn to take responsibility for her choices instead of trying to manipulate others into cleaning up her mess. Patricia Henley. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Carolyn didn't respond. Christmas came and went in a blur of joy. The kids tore through presents on Christmas morning, the house filled with laughter and wrapping paper and the kind of chaos that comes from too much sugar and excitement. Brooke gave me a necklace with 3 birthstones, hers, Emma's, and mine, symbolizing 3 generations of women. I cried when I opened it. You're not just my birth mother, she said, hugging me. You're my family. My real family. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, I stood in Brooke's kitchen cleaning up the last of the dishes. Through the window, I could see snow falling gently, coating everything in white. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Asterisk, this is Jonathan. I need to talk to you about Evelyn. Please call me when you can. Asterisk. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it and turned off my phone. Whatever Jonathan needed to say, and I'd found another daughter whatever crisis who actually wanted me in her life. It wasn't that my responsibility anymore. Brooke's family came over to my apartment. I was done being the person everyone turned to when they needed something. We played board games when they didn't. Made homemade pizza. I was done being row 7 and counted down to midnight. The next morning, New Year's Eve, at 11:59, I woke up in my apartment Brooke to bright sunshine reflecting off the snow. To new beginnings, I made coffee. To sat family, by my window, Derek added, and thought about the year that was ending. Patricia. A year ago, chorused. I'd been invisible. I raised my glass, dismissed, tears in my eyes, heartbroken. To second chances. Now I was valued. I said, love. We clinked glasses as the clock struck midnight. I'd lost a daughter, and I felt I'd something found shift inside me. The grief that had been sitting on my chest for so long finally lifted. I was free. And I was exactly where I was supposed to be. If you're still with me, thank you for listening to this journey. Sometimes the hardest thing we can do is choose ourselves, especially when it means letting go of people we love. But sometimes it's the only way to survive. Please check the description box below for more stories like this. Stories about finding your worth and building the life you deserve. January in Duluth was brutal. Wind chill below zero, ice everywhere, the kind of cold that hurt your face the moment you stepped outside. But inside Brooke's warm home, with the kids' laughter echoing through the halls and the smell of whatever delicious meal she was making filling the air, I'd never felt warmer. I'd settled into my life. My apartment had become a true home, decorated with photos of my grandchildren and the handmade gifts they'd given me. I'd made friends at the library, joined a book club, even started taking a watercolor painting class on Tuesday evenings. For the first time in decades, I wasn't defined by what I'd lost. I was defined by what I'd found. Evelyn hadn't contacted me since Christmas. Neither had Richard or Carolyn or Jonathan. Rebecca Hart's blog post had faded from the viral spotlight, replaced by newer scandals and stories. Life, as it always does, had moved on. I thought the worst was over. I was wrong. It was a Tuesday in mid-January when I got the call that changed everything. I was at the library, shelving books in the children's section, when my phone vibrated in my pocket. Jennifer Carver. The former bridesmaid who'd reached out before Thanksgiving. Jennifer. I answered, stepping into a quiet corner. Patricia. Her voice was tight with urgency. I'm so sorry to bother you, but I thought you should know. Evelyn's in the hospital. My heart dropped. What? What happened? She collapsed at work yesterday. They're saying it's severe exhaustion and malnutrition. She's been in bad shape for weeks, Patricia. Ever since that blog post went viral. She stopped eating, stopped sleeping. Jonathan tried to get her help, but she refused. I leaned against the bookshelf, my legs suddenly weak. Is she going to be okay? Physically, yes. They're giving her fluids and monitoring her. But mentally? Jennifer's voice cracked. She's not good. She keeps saying she's destroyed everything, that everyone hates her, that her life is over. Where is she? Northwestern Memorial, in Chicago. Room 714. After I hung up, I stood there for a long moment, staring at nothing. I thought about row 7. About the receiving line. About the vow renewal designed to humiliate me. About years of being dismissed and devalued. I thought about how Evelyn had never once apologized sincerely, never once taken real responsibility. But I also thought about her as a baby, as a toddler, as the little girl who'd once loved me unconditionally. I called Brooke. She's in the hospital, I said, my voice shaking. I heard. Jennifer called me too. Brooke was quiet for a moment. What do you want to do? I don't know. Do you want to go see her? Did I? Every rational part of me said no. Said that Evelyn had made her choices, that this wasn't my crisis to fix, that going back would just restart the cycle of pain. But the mother in me, the part that had rocked her through colic, held her through nightmares, loved her even when she didn't love me back, that part couldn't ignore this. I think I have to, I said quietly. Then I'm coming with you, Brooke said firmly. You don't have to. Mom. She said it with such certainty, such love, that it took my breath away. You're not going alone. We'll figure this out together. The next morning, Brooke and I drove to Chicago. 6 hours in the car, most of it in silence, both of us lost in our own thoughts. When we pulled into the parking garage at Northwestern Memorial, I felt my anxiety spike. I don't know if I can do this, I said. Brooke reached over and squeezed my hand. Yes, you can. And I'll be right there with you. We found room 714 on the 7th floor. The door was partially open. I could hear voices inside, Jonathan's, and someone else's. Carolyn, maybe. I knocked softly. The voices stopped. Jonathan appeared in the doorway. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his usually perfect hair disheveled. Patricia, he said, surprise clear in his voice. I heard about Evelyn. I wanted to check on her. He glanced behind him, then stepped into the hallway, pulling the door mostly closed. She's not doing well, he said quietly. She won't eat, barely speaks. The doctors say she's having some kind of breakdown. Can I see her? He hesitated. I don't know if that's a good idea. She's been talking about you a lot. Blaming herself, blaming you, blaming everyone. It's complicated. I'm her mother, I said, and for the first time in months, I said it with conviction. Whatever's happened between us, she's still my daughter. I need to see her. Jonathan looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. Okay. But Carolyn's in there. And Richard. They might not be receptive. I don't care, I said. He opened the door wider and gestured for us to enter. The room was dim, curtains drawn against the grey January afternoon. Evelyn lay in the hospital bed, looking impossibly small and fragile. Her hair hung limp around her face, dark circles shadowing her eyes. She was hooked up to N4, monitors beeping softly. Carolyn sat in a chair by the window, her expression hardening when she saw me. Richard stood at the foot of the bed, his jaw clenching. What are you doing here? Richard demanded. I came to see my daughter, I said simply. You've done enough damage, Carolyn said coldly. Haven't you seen what your selfishness has done to her? Brooke stepped forward, her voice steady. Her selfishness. Are you serious right now? Who are you? Carolyn asked, looking at Brooke like she was an intruder. I'm Patricia's daughter, Brooke said. Her other daughter. The one who was given up for adoption 42 years ago. And I've heard all about how this family treats the people who love them. The room went silent. Evelyn's eyes opened. She turned her head slowly toward me, her expression unreadable. Mom, she whispered. I moved to her bedside, my heart pounding. Up close, she looked even worse, gaunt, hollow, like a shadow of herself. I'm here, I said softly. Her eyes filled with tears. Why? Because you're my daughter. I hate you, she said, but there was no force behind it. Just exhaustion. I know, I said. But I'm here anyway. She stared at me for a long moment, then turned her face away. I want you to leave. The words stung, but I'd expected them. Okay, I said. But first, I need to say something. I don't want to hear it. You're going to hear it anyway, I interrupted, my voice firm but not unkind. Evelyn, you're sick. Not just physically. You've been sick for a long time, in ways that have nothing to do with your body. You've built your life on appearances, on what other people think, on being perfect. And it's destroying you. You don't know anything, she said weakly. I know that you pushed me away because I reminded you of things you wanted to forget. I know that you chose your father and his new wife over me because they fit the image you wanted. I know that you hurt me deeply, repeatedly, and refused to acknowledge it because that would mean admitting you were wrong. Tears were streaming down her face now. But I also know, I continued, my own voice breaking, that you're suffering. And despite everything, I don't want that. I never wanted that. Then why did you leave me? She sobbed. Why did you choose her over me? She pointed weakly at Brooke. I didn't choose her over you, I said. I chose myself. There's a difference. I chose to stop accepting cruelty. I chose to build a life with people who actually value me. That wasn't about Brooke. That was about survival. But she's your daughter too, Evelyn said, her voice bitter. She's competition. No, I said firmly. She's not. There's room in my heart for both of you. There always has been. But you never let me close enough to prove that. Evelyn closed her eyes, fresh tears leaking out. I don't know how to fix this, she whispered. Neither do I admitted. But you could start by getting better. By accepting help. By looking at why you pushed away the people who loved you. The therapist here says I have control issues, she said quietly. That I need to control how people see me because I'm afraid they'll see the real me and leave. I felt my throat tighten. Because underneath all the hurt and anger, I could see it. The scared little girl who'd watched her father leave, who'd blamed herself, who'd spent her whole life trying to be perfect so no one would leave her again. Evelyn, I said gently, I saw the real you. I raised the real you. And I loved her. I still love her. What I couldn't love was being treated like I didn't matter. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and something in her expression cracked. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry, Mom. It wasn't enough. Not yet. But it was a start. I reached out and took her hand. It was cold, fragile in mine. I forgive you, I said. But forgiveness doesn't mean everything goes back to how it was. It means we acknowledge what happened and we decide whether we can move forward. And that's going to take time. A lot of time. She nodded weakly. I glanced at Richard and Carolyn, who were both staring at us in shocked silence. She needs help, I said to them. Real help. Therapy, not just for this breakdown but for everything that led to it. And she needs people around her who will hold her accountable, not just enable her. I turned back to Evelyn. I'm going back to Duluth. But I'll call to check on you. And when you're ready, when you're really ready to do the work, we can talk about rebuilding our relationship. But it has to be real this time. No more games. No more manipulation. Just honesty. Okay, she breathed. I squeezed her hand once more, then let go. Brooke and I walked out of that hospital room together, leaving behind the silence and the shock. In the elevator, Brooke turned to me. Are you okay? I don't know, I said honestly. Ask me in a few weeks. We drove back to Duluth that evening. The roads were clear, the sky full of stars. Somewhere around the Wisconsin border, Brooke spoke. You did the right thing. Did I? Yes. You showed up. You said what needed to be said. But you also protected yourself. That's exactly right. I hoped she was right. Over the following weeks, I kept my promise. I called the hospital every few days to check on Evelyn's progress. She was transferred to a psychiatric facility for more intensive treatment. Jonathan kept me updated. She was participating in therapy, starting to eat again, slowly putting the pieces back together. But I kept my distance. I didn't visit again. I didn't rush to fix things. I was learning that love didn't always mean proximity. Sometimes it meant boundaries. In February, Evelyn was released. Jonathan called to tell me she was home and wanted to talk to me. I'm not ready yet, I told him honestly. I understand, he said. She's starting outpatient therapy. The therapist thinks it might be helpful for you two to do some family sessions eventually. Would you be open to that? Maybe, I said. In time. March brought the first hints of spring. The snow started melting, revealing the brown grass beneath. The kids were excited about summer coming, about longer days and bike rides and trips to the lake. I was excited too. Not about reconciliation, that felt too big, too uncertain, but about continuing to build this life I'd created. One evening, I got an email from Evelyn. The first direct communication since the hospital. Mom, I'm writing this letter as part of my therapy. My therapist says I need to take accountability for my actions without expecting anything in return. So this isn't me asking for forgiveness or trying to manipulate you into responding. This is just me being honest. I was cruel to you. Not just at the wedding, but for years before that. I pushed you away because I was ashamed of Dad leaving, of not being the perfect family I wanted us to be, of not being enough to keep him. And I took that shame out on you. When Dad came back into my life with Diane and their perfect house and their perfect life, I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to prove I was worthy of it. And I thought that meant distancing myself from you, from the life that felt broken. I'm learning in therapy that I have issues with control and perfectionism. That I project my fears onto others. That I hurt the people who love me because I'm afraid they'll hurt me first. None of this excuses what I did. Row 7 was unforgivable. The receiving line was unforgivable. The way I treated you for years was unforgivable. Asterisk, but I'm trying to understand why I did it, so I can be better. Asterisk, I don't expect you to respond to this. I don't expect you to forgive me or want a relationship with me. I just needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did. And I'm so sorry. Asterisk your daughter. Asterisk Evelyn. Asterisk. I read the email 3 times. Then I saved it and didn't respond. Not because I was being cruel, but because I needed time to process it. To decide what I felt, what I wanted, what was healthiest for me. Dr. Brennan, in our next video session, asked what I thought about the email. I think it's genuine, I said. But I also think she has a long way to go. One email doesn't undo years of hurt. Exactly right, he said. Healing isn't linear. And you get to decide your own timeline. April arrived, and with it came Emma's 13th birthday. A teenager now, growing into herself in ways that filled me with pride. At her party, surrounded by Brooke's family and the friends I'd made in Duluth, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: contentment. Not happiness, that would come and go, as it always does. But contentment. A deep sense of being exactly where I was supposed to be. That evening, after the party, I sat down and wrote an email back to Evelyn. Evelyn, thank you for your email. I appreciate your honesty and your willingness to look at your own behavior. That takes courage. I want you to know that I do forgive you. Not because you've earned it, but because holding on to that anger was hurting me more than it was hurting you. Forgiveness, for me, is about letting go. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. At least not yet. I need you to understand that rebuilding our relationship, if that's even possible, will take years, not months. It will require consistent effort from you, not just words but actions. It will require respecting my boundaries and accepting that I have another life now, another daughter, other grandchildren who are also important to me. I'm not saying no to a future relationship. I'm saying that the future will look different than the past. And we both need to be okay with that. If you're serious about doing the work, I'm willing to consider family therapy sessions in a few months. But only if you're ready to truly show up. Mom. I hit send and felt a weight lift. Whatever happened next, I'd done my part. The rest was up to her. Spring in Duluth was tentative, as if the city didn't quite trust that winter was over. But by May, the flowers were blooming and the air smelled like fresh earth and possibility. Evelyn and I exchanged a few more emails over those months. Brief, careful messages where we tested the waters of communication without diving too deep. She told me about her therapy progress. I told her about the kids, about my life in Duluth. It was stilted, awkward. But it was something. In June, exactly 1 year after her wedding, Evelyn asked if we could do a video call. I agreed, but only with Brooke there beside me for support. When Evelyn's face appeared on my laptop screen, I barely recognized her. She'd gained weight, healthy weight, and her hair was different, shorter and more natural. But the biggest change was in her eyes. They looked clearer somehow, less guarded. "Hi, Mom," she said softly. "Hi, Evelyn." Awkward silence. "I wanted to show you something," she said finally. She held up a notebook. "This is my accountability journal. My therapist has me write in it every day. Things I'm grateful for. Ways I've held myself accountable. Amends I need to make." She opened it to a page filled with her handwriting. "Page 1, she said, her voice trembling, "is all about you. About the things I did wrong. About how I want to make it right." I felt my throat tighten. "That's good, Evelyn. That's really good. I'm not asking you to forgive everything right away," she continued. "I know I have to earn that. But I wanted you to see that I'm trying. I'm really trying." "I can see that," I said. Then she noticed Brooke sitting next to me. "Is that?" She trailed off. "This is Brooke," I said. "My other daughter. Your sister." Evelyn's face did something complicated, a mix of emotions I couldn't quite read. Jealousy, curiosity, fear, maybe even hope. "Hi," Brooke said simply. "Hi," Evelyn whispered. The 3 of us sat there in this strange digital space, 3 women connected by blood and circumstance and pain, none of us quite knowing what to say. Finally, Evelyn spoke. I don't have a right to ask this, but would you be willing to meet? In person? Maybe for coffee or something? I looked at Brooke. She gave me a small nod, leaving the decision to me. Not yet, I said to Evelyn. But maybe soon. Let's keep doing these video calls. Let's keep building trust. And when the time is right, we'll know. She looked disappointed but nodded. Okay. Whatever you need. After we hung up, Brooke turned to me. How do you feel? Exhausted, I admitted. But also, hopeful? Maybe. I don't know. That's normal, she said. Healing is confusing. Over the summer, Evelyn and I video called every 2 weeks. Sometimes Jonathan joined. Once, surprisingly, Richard called me separately to apologize for his role in everything. I failed you, he said. As a husband and as a co-parent. I made you the enemy in Evelyn's eyes because it was easier than admitting I was the one who abandoned her. I appreciated the apology, even if it came 20 years too late. In August, Evelyn's therapist reached out to me directly, asking if I'd be willing to participate in a family therapy session. Not in person yet, but via video. I agreed, with the stipulation that Brooke could be there too. The session was intense. The therapist, Dr. Lisa Warren, asked hard questions. Patricia, can you describe how you felt at Evelyn's wedding? I told her about row 7. About watching Richard walk Evelyn down the aisle. About being invisible at the reception. And Evelyn, what do you hear when your mother describes that? Evelyn was crying. I hear how much I hurt her. How blind I was. How cruel. Can you tell her that directly? Evelyn turned to the camera. To me. Mom, I hurt you. I was blind to your pain and cruel in my actions. I made you feel invisible when you deserved to be honored. I'm so sorry. It was the first time she'd apologized so directly, so completely, without deflection or justification. Thank you, I said, my own tears flowing. I needed to hear that. The therapy sessions continued monthly. Slowly, painfully, we began to rebuild something. Not the relationship we'd had, that was gone, broken beyond repair. But maybe something new. Something more honest. In October, I agreed to meet Evelyn in person. We chose a coffee shop in Madison, halfway between Chicago and Duluth. Neutral territory. Brooke drove me there and waited in the car, ready to rescue me if needed. Evelyn arrived exactly on time, looking nervous. We sat across from each other at a small table, our coffee cups between us like a barrier. Thank you for coming, she said. I said I would. I know, but you didn't have to. After everything. We talked for 2 hours. It wasn't easy. There were moments of tension, moments where old hurts bubbled up. But there were also moments of genuine connection, glimpses of the mother-daughter relationship we might have had if things had been different. I want you to meet Jonathan's family again, she said as we were leaving. Properly this time. As my mother, not as whatever I made you before. I'd like that, I said. Eventually. We hugged goodbye. It was brief, tentative, but real. In the car on the way home, Brooke asked how it went. It was, okay, I said. Not perfect. But okay. That's all it needs to be right now, she said. November brought an unexpected development. Evelyn called me and asked if she could come to Duluth for Thanksgiving. I want to meet Brooke's family, she said. I want to see your new life. And I want to apologize to Brooke for how I acted about her. I was stunned. Are you sure? I'm sure. If you'll have me. I talked to Brooke first, of course. It's your call, she said. But honestly, I'd like to meet her. She's my sister, technically. And maybe we could all figure out how to be a family. A weird, complicated, patched-together family, but still. So Evelyn came to Duluth for Thanksgiving. It was awkward at first. The kids didn't know what to make of her. Emma, old enough to understand some of the history, was wary. But Noah and Lily, oblivious to the complications, just saw another aunt and bombarded her with questions. Evelyn and Brooke had a long talk in the kitchen while I played with the kids in the living room. I don't know everything they said, but when they emerged, both had been crying and both were smiling. We're okay, Brooke said simply. At dinner, when we went around the table sharing what we were grateful for, Evelyn spoke last. I'm grateful for second chances, she said, her voice shaking. For a mother who loved me even when I didn't deserve it. For a sister I didn't know I needed. For all of you welcoming me into your home when you had every reason not to. She looked at me. And I'm grateful that it's not too late. That we still have time to get this right. I reached across the table and took her hand. We do, I said. We have time. It wasn't perfect. There were still hard conversations ahead, still wounds that needed healing, still trust that needed rebuilding. But for the first time in years, I believed it was possible. After Thanksgiving, Evelyn returned to Chicago. But things were different now. She called regularly, not just when she needed something but to actually talk. She sent photos, asked about the kids, made an effort to be part of my life in Duluth. In December, she and Jonathan invited me and Brooke's family to Chicago for Christmas. Not at Carolyn's house, Evelyn had set that boundary herself, but at their own apartment. I want to host you, she said. In my home. The way I should have from the beginning. On Christmas morning, I stood in Evelyn's living room, surrounded by both of my daughters, by Jonathan, by Brooke's family, by the life I'd rebuilt from ruins. Emma was teaching Evelyn how to play a game on her phone. Noah was showing Jonathan his fossil collection that he'd brought to share. Lily was sitting on Brooke's lap, half asleep from the excitement. Evelyn caught my eye across the room and smiled. Not the performative smile I'd seen so many times before, but something genuine, something vulnerable. She mouthed 2 words, thank you. I nodded. Later, after the kids had gone to bed in the guest rooms Evelyn had prepared, after Brooke and Derek had retreated to the pull-out couch in the office, Evelyn and I sat in her kitchen with mugs of tea. I've been thinking about the wedding, she said quietly. Evelyn, we don't have to. No, I need to say this. She took a breath. If I could go back and do it over, everything would be different. You'd be in the front row. You'd walk me down the aisle, or at least be there with Dad. You'd give a toast. You'd be in every photo. You'd be treated like what you are, my mother. I know, I said softly, but I can't go back. All I can do is move forward. She reached across the table and took my hand. So I'm promising you now, whatever comes next in my life, kids, anniversaries, holidays, normal random Tuesdays, you'll be there. Not as an afterthought. Not in row 7. But as my mother. As someone I value and love and need. Tears streamed down my face. That's all I ever wanted. I know, she whispered. And I'm so sorry it took me so long to give it to you. We sat there in her quiet kitchen, holding hands across the table, and something between us shifted. Not fixed, not healed completely, but shifted. Toward something that might, with time and effort, become real. The next morning, Christmas Day, Evelyn had one more surprise. I have something for all of us, she said, gathering everyone in the living room. She pulled out a large frame, covered with a cloth. I've spent the last few months working on something, she said, her voice nervous. A way to acknowledge the past and commit to the future. She removed the cloth. It was a family tree, beautifully illustrated. At the top were photos of me and Richard, though notably separate, acknowledging we were Evelyn's parents but not together. Below that was Evelyn, connected to both of us. But then the tree branched in an unexpected way. On one side was Jonathan, their wedding photo. On the other side, connected to me, was Brooke. And below Brooke were Derek, Emma, Noah, and Lily. This is our family, Evelyn said. All of us. Complicated and messy and not traditional, but ours. Brooke, I know I don't have a right to claim you as my sister, but I'm hoping we can figure out what that means together. Brooke stood up and hugged her. We already are sisters, she said. We're Patricia's daughters. That makes us family. I couldn't stop crying. Happy tears this time. Healing tears. Emma studied the family tree carefully. So Aunt Evelyn is Grandma's other daughter. That's right, I said. Cool, Emma said simply. Does that mean we get to see her more? If that's okay with everyone, Evelyn said, looking at Brooke. More than okay, Brooke said. That afternoon, Evelyn did something that stunned me. She posted a photo on Facebook, her first public post since making her accounts private months ago. It was a picture of the family tree, with all of us gathered around it. The caption read, *This year, I learned what family really means. Not perfection. Not appearances. But showing up, doing the work, and loving people even when, especially when, it's hard. Asterisk. Asterisk. I spent too many years pushing away the person who loved me most. My mother deserved better than I gave her. She deserved honor, respect, and gratitude. Instead, she got row 7. Asterisk. Asterisk. But she also got the last word. She chose herself, set boundaries, and refused to accept cruelty. And in doing so, she taught me the most important lesson of my life. That real love requires real respect. Asterisk. Asterisk. Mom, thank you for not giving up on me, even when you had every reason to. Thank you for showing me what strength looks like. Thank you for introducing me to my sister, who I'm lucky to know. And thank you for this beautiful, complicated, imperfect family we're building together. Asterisk. Asterisk. To everyone who's been following this journey. If you have someone in your life who you've taken for granted, if you've made someone feel invisible, if you've put appearances above authenticity, it's not too late to change. But it requires humility, honesty, and hard work. And it's worth it. Asterisk. Asterisk. Merry Christmas to our family. All of it. Red heart. Asterisk. The post got hundreds of comments. Some supportive, some critical, some sharing their own stories of family estrangement and reconciliation. But the comment that mattered most came from Rebecca Hart, the woman who'd crashed the vow renewal. Asterisk. This is what accountability looks like. I'm proud of you, Evelyn. And Patricia, you're the hero of this story. Thank you for showing us all what self-respect looks like. Asterisk. I commented back. Asterisk. Thank you for seeing me when I needed to be seen. You changed my life. Asterisk. That week between Christmas and New Year's, I watched my 2 daughters get to know each other. Really know each other. They discovered they both loved true crime podcasts. They both cried at the same sad movies. They both had my stubbornness and my tendency to organize everything. One evening, I found them in Evelyn's kitchen, cooking dinner together while laughing about something. The sight made my heart swell. What are you smiling about? Brooke asked, noticing me watching. Just this, I said. You too. This whole impossible, beautiful thing. It's pretty great, isn't it? Evelyn said softly. Yeah, I said. It really is. On New Year's Eve, Evelyn proposed a toast. To the year behind us, she said, raising her glass. Which taught us who we are and who we want to be. To the year ahead, Brooke added. Which is full of possibility. To family, Derek said. To Grandma Patricia, the kids chorused, making us all laugh. To second chances, Jonathan said, squeezing Evelyn's hand. I raised my glass, looking around at these faces, some familiar, some new, all precious. To row 7, I said. Everyone looked confused except Evelyn, whose eyes filled with tears. Why are we toasting to row 7? Brooke asked. Because, I said, looking at Evelyn, row 7 broke me. But it also freed me. It forced me to see the truth and choose myself. And that choice led me here, to all of you. So row 7, as painful as it was also the beginning of this. I gestured around the room, at this gathered family. Row 7 was my rock bottom, I continued. But rock bottom is a foundation. And look what we've built from it. Evelyn crossed the room and hugged me tightly. I love you, Mom, she whispered. I'm so sorry for row 7. But I'm so grateful for who you became because of it. I love you too, I said. Both of you, I added, reaching out for Brooke. She joined our embrace, and we stood there, 3 generations of women, 2 daughters and their mother, holding each other in Evelyn's living room while the city sparkled with New Year's celebrations outside. It wasn't the family I'd imagined when I was young. It wasn't the relationship I'd dreamed of having with Evelyn. But it was real. It was honest. It was built on foundation of pain and forgiveness and the hardest work any of us had ever done. And it was ours. As midnight approached, Emma asked, Grandma, what's your New Year's resolution? I thought about it. A year ago, I'd been invisible, broken, sitting in row 7 watching my daughter pretend I didn't exist. Now I was here. Seen. Valued. Whole. My resolution, I said, is to never forget my worth. To never let anyone, no matter how much I love them, make me feel invisible again. I'll drink to that, Renee's voice said from my phone on FaceTime, joining us from Portland. We all raised our glasses as the countdown began. 10, 9, 8, I looked at Evelyn, at the woman she was becoming, at the work she was doing. 7. 6. 5. I looked at Brooke, at the gift of her presence in my life, at the family she'd given me. 4. 3. 2. I looked at myself in the reflection of Evelyn's windows, at the woman I'd become. 1. Happy New Year. And it was. It really, truly was. If you've made it this far in my story, thank you. Thank you for witnessing my journey from row 7 to here, from invisible to seen, from broken to whole. Your support means everything. Please share this story with anyone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to check the description box below for more stories about finding your strength, setting boundaries, and choosing yourself, even when it's the hardest thing you've ever done. It's been 2 years since that Christmas when everything changed. 2 years since my daughters, both of them, stood beside me and we chose to build something new from the rubble of what had been broken. I'm 65 now, and my life looks nothing like I imagined it would. I'm still in Duluth. My apartment has become a true home, filled with photos of both my daughters, my grandchildren, and the life I've built here. I'm still volunteering at the library, still taking watercolor classes on Tuesday evenings, still having coffee with the friends I've made in this city that embraced me when I needed it most. But I also spend time in Chicago now. Real time, not just obligatory visits. Evelyn and Jonathan bought a bigger place last year with a guest room that they call Mom's Room. I stay there once a month, sometimes more. We have dinner together, go to museums, take walks along the lake. We talk about real things now, her therapy, my life, our relationship, the future. It's not perfect. We still have hard moments, times when old patterns try to resurface. But we've learned to recognize them, to call them out, to choose differently. Last spring, Evelyn got pregnant. She called me the day she found out, crying happy tears. "You're going to be a grandma again," she said. "I already am a grandma," I reminded her gently. "I know. I mean, you're going to be my baby's grandma. And I promise you, Mom, I promise you, this child will know you. Will love you. Will understand how important you are." The baby, a girl, was born in December. They named her Patricia Rose. Patricia after me. Rose after Evelyn's middle name. When Evelyn handed her to me in the hospital, when I held my newest granddaughter for the first time, I felt something complete inside me. Some circle closing, some wound finally, fully healing. "Hello, little one," I whispered. "I'm your Grandma Patricia." Evelyn was crying. Jonathan was crying. Even Brooke, who'd driven down from Duluth to be there, was crying. "I want to do this right," Evelyn said, watching me hold her daughter. "I want to be the mother to her that you were to me, and that I didn't appreciate until it was almost too late." "You will be," I said. "You already are." Baby Patricia is 3 months old now. I visit every other week, helping with late-night feedings and diaper changes, passing on the wisdom that only comes from raising a child. Emma, Noah, and Lily love their new cousin. Brooke brings them down from Duluth sometimes, and we have these beautiful chaotic gatherings where all my grandchildren play together while my daughters and I sit on the couch, exhausted and happy. Richard came to meet baby Patricia last month. It was awkward, it probably always will be, but he's trying. He apologized to me again, more fully this time. "I failed you as a partner," he said. "And I failed Evelyn by teaching her that people were disposable. I'm glad she learned different. I'm glad you taught her different." I accepted his apology. Not for him, but for me. Because holding on to that anger wasn't serving me anymore. Diane even apologized, in her way. She sent me a card that said, "I'm sorry for my part in the pain this family has endured. You deserved better." It wasn't much, but it was something. Carolyn has been the hardest. She still struggles to accept that she was wrong, that her role in Evelyn's treatment of me was harmful. But she's trying to be better with baby Patricia, trying to make space for me instead of pushing me out. At Patricia's baptism last month, Carolyn approached me. "You've done something remarkable," she said stiffly. "You taught Evelyn about forgiveness and boundaries and real love. I could learn from that." It was the closest she'd ever come to an apology. I took it. "Thank you," I said. "That means a lot." Last week, Evelyn asked me to go wedding dress shopping with her. Wedding dress shopping? I was confused. "You're already married." She blushed. "Jonathan and I have been talking. About how wrong our first wedding was, how much we hurt you. And we want to do it again. A real renewal, not the performative one from before. Small, intimate, just family. And this time we want you to walk me down the aisle. I stared at her. What? You raised me, Mom. You were there for everything. You deserve that honor. If you want it. I couldn't speak. The tears came too fast. I want it, I finally managed. I want it so much. So next month, in April, Evelyn and Jonathan are renewing their vows. In a garden, with maybe 30 people. Brooke will be there with her family. Renee is flying in from Portland. Even Dr. Brennan, my therapist who helped me find myself again, will be there. And I will walk my daughter down the aisle. Not row 7 this time. Not the back of the church, not invisible, not erased. Front and center, exactly where I was always supposed to be. Yesterday, Evelyn and I went to pick out her dress. Something simple and beautiful, ivory instead of white. In the dressing room, as she stood in front of the mirror, she started crying. What's wrong? I asked. Nothing's wrong, she said. Everything's right. Finally, everything's right. She turned to me. Do you remember what you said to me that day in the hospital? When I was at my lowest? I said a lot of things. You said that forgiveness doesn't mean everything goes back to how it was. That it means acknowledging what happened and deciding whether we can move forward. I nodded. We've moved forward, she said. Haven't we? We've actually done it. We have, I agreed. I don't deserve you, she whispered. Maybe not, I said honestly. But you're doing the work to become someone who does. And that's what matters. She hugged me there in the dressing room, both of us crying, the sales associate watching with a confused expression. Later, over lunch, Evelyn asked me a question. Do you ever regret it? Setting those boundaries? Walking away from me when you did? I thought about it carefully. No, I said finally. Because if I hadn't walked away, you never would have faced the consequences of your actions. You never would have gotten the help you needed. And I never would have found myself again. Sometimes love means letting people hit rock bottom so they can learn to climb back up. That must have been so hard, she said. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But it was also the most important. She reached across the table and took my hand. Thank you for loving me enough to do it. Tonight, I'm back in my apartment in Duluth. Brooke and the kids came over for dinner. Just tacos and laughter, and Emma telling me about her high school drama tryouts, and Noah showing me his newest fossil, and Lily climbing into my lap to fall asleep while we watched a movie. This is my life now. Simple. Full. Real. I still think about row 7 sometimes. About that day in the church when I felt so small, so invisible, so utterly alone. But I also think about the stranger who whispered those words to me, except that never happened. I was never in row 7 when a stranger saved me. I saved myself. The stranger was Rebecca, crashing the vow renewal, speaking truth when I couldn't. The stranger was Brooke, reaching out after 42 years to find me. The stranger was me, finally choosing myself over the people who hurt me. I was humiliated at my daughter's wedding. I was forced to sit alone while others were honored. I watched my own child pretend I didn't exist. But I survived it. More than survived it, I transformed it. And now, 2 years later, I stand on the other side of that pain with 2 daughters who love me, for grandchildren who call me Grandma Patricia with joy in their voices, and a life that is wholly, completely mine. If you've ever been in row 7, if you've ever been the person pushed aside, dismissed, told your feelings don't matter, I want you to know this: you deserve better. You deserve a front row in your own life. You deserve people who see you, value you, celebrate you. And if those people can't or won't do that, you deserve the courage to walk away and build something new. It won't be easy. God knows it wasn't easy for me. But it will be worth it. Because on the other side of that hard choice, on the other side of those boundaries and that pain and that terrifying leap into the unknown, is freedom. Is peace. Is home. Next month, I'll walk my daughter down the aisle. I'll wear a beautiful dress, navy blue, like the one I wore to her first wedding, but this time I chose it with joy instead of pain. I'll hold her arm and tell her I love her. I'll watch her marry Jonathan again, this time with my blessing given freely, not grudgingly. And I'll sit in the front row. Not because I fought for it. Not because I demanded it. But because I was invited there. Because I was honored there. Because my daughter finally understands that I belong there. That's the real ending to this story. Not revenge. Not vindication. Not even forgiveness, really. Just understanding. Just change. Just love, messy and complicated and hard one, but real. The kind of love that can survive row 7 and come out stronger on the other side. The kind of love that I finally have. For myself, first and foremost. And then, miraculously, impossibly, for my daughter too. Both of them. This is where my story ends, or maybe where it really begins. In a garden in April, walking down an aisle with my daughter. In her apartment in Duluth, surrounded by the family I chose and who chose me back. In the life I built from the ruins of the one I lost. And it's more beautiful than I ever imagined it could be. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being with me through every painful moment, every triumph, every tear. If this story touched you, if it helped you see your own row 7 more clearly, if it gave you the courage to choose yourself, then please share it. Leave a comment telling me where you're watching from, what resonated with you, and who in your life needs to hear this message. And please, one more time, check the description box below for more stories like this. Stories about women who refused to stay invisible, who chose themselves, who found their way home. You're not alone. You never were. And your row 7? It doesn't define you. How you rise from it does. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. From row 7 to the front row, from invisible to seen, from broken to whole, this is what healing looks like. It's messy, it's hard, and it's absolutely worth it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out more empowering stories in the description below. Until next time, remember, you deserve to be in the front row of your own life. *Red heart #.